Welcome. Today I wanted to share with you my own individual experience and story when covering the Noah Presgrove case. Along the way there have been levels of resistance from different sides, but most surprisingly is what's gone down in recent time in an area by some you would least expect to show resistance. With that taking place, what I've seen myself and the possible links over time, it does really make you think, who really wants justice for Noah Presgrove? In addition, I'll be sharing with you some updates in regard to Melissa Lequay, an individual who's a supporter within the Noah Presgrove case, a supposed advocate who's been somewhat active, and whilst there's been counterpoints recently claiming they haven't and they've only done a couple of posts, well, there have been more screenshots found recently which show the extent of their behaviour and what they may have been facing and going through at a point in time, with links to Caleb Newton and the justice page run by the family of Noah Presgrove. It does run deeper than you think. So whilst there are people along the way which may be ignorant over time, that does not surprise me. I will be sharing with you all today, trying to put into perspective and set the tone for what's really going on in the case and externally, because it seems to run in parallel with one another. Hi there, Warlight Rev here. Today I just wanted to lay the table out so you know what to expect in a corresponding order. First of all, we're going to take a look at Michael Facekaz and his recent screenshots which he's gathered together to reinforce the points of Melissa Lequay's lack of activity on the case discussion page and how things were dealt with quickly. But there is some contrasting screenshots of Melissa and her activity involvement elsewhere, such as on the justice page, rather eye-opening. And then once that's done and analysis has been completed, we'll transition onto the Facebook post from the Army page of all places, which depicts a viewer from my channel and a member that has been speaking behind my back and doing a call to arms similar to what Alicia Lee, Caden Press's mom, had done December of 2024. It's all rather shocking and eye-opening. It does make you think quite a lot. Be sure to leave your comments down below after watching this video to let me know what you think. And for those that are present during the live premiere, make sure to use the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen. And last but not least, if you are interested in coverage on this particular case, you'll be able to find the full playlist, top right corner where the eye symbol is, and some videos below. The PayPal link is down below. With that being said, let's now begin. As you see on screen, this is the first photo what we're taking a look at, and it's in regard to the profile, more so from the case discussion group, as it gives like a little outline, a bit of information regarding the person. This is the Melissa Lequay, the one that we looked at in the last video, and just further proof to say that she was on the Noah Presgrove case discussion group. We scroll down, member of Noah Presgrove case discussion since January 10th, 2025. So it's rather recent, this, to be honest. I wonder how far it dates back when she got involved in the case at hand, when she first heard about it. Supposedly, with being a local, you may think they might have heard about it really early on. There have been some other locals within the case community that have said they've never heard of Melissa Lequay before. And that's rather interesting. The member summary: there are no active restrictions on Melissa at this moment in time. It appears clean, reasonable, nothing much to see. Moving on to this screenshot from Michael Facekaz's point of view. Once again, it says moderation, actions taken on Melissa's activity in the last 90 days. I'll zoom in to make it clearer. 1 warning and 1 post removed. Participation last 30 days. And we'll get on to the next screenshot in just a second. So action has been taken. So when people say that Melissa Lequay is unstable, reckless on different pages on Facebook, bad post made possibly, that others, moderators, have just allowed it, well, Michael Facekaz has said he's taken action, and there you go with the warning and post removal. Action has been taken to prevent things from escalating, which is a positive. But one thing that I noticed, which is off subject, but it just stood out to me because of the sheer scale and figure when it came to Michael Facekaz, I noticed that when you zoom in really close on the email thing, I think that says 340,000 emails. I could be wrong, but that's what it reads as from my eyesight. 340,000 emails. I mean, I'm just reacting because I've never seen that before personally. I think the most emails I had was 99, and that's just because I didn't delete previous ones. But wow, over 300,000, I think, because I can see a little comma as well. But that aside, it's good of Michael Facekaz to provide this point of view so we can see action and the steps being taken when dealing with reckless individuals and unstable people such as Melissa Lequay at times. Moving on to her, once again, low down on the participation, you can see on the graph there's not been too much going on with her on the case discussion. February 14th, a spike, but the biggest one being, I guess, in between February and March, which is really high up on 5, but that's more so to do with comments, and I guess that's more comments by her, I'm guessing, and then the odd post by her. Michael Facekaz did say more of her behaviour has been through, I think, private messages, DMs, rather than straight up post. Now, what would Melissa Lequay be doing in the DMs, and who would she be reaching out to? Why exactly? Was it above board? Was it to do with reaching out to people of interest within the case, witnesses? You know, kind of like what we're seeing with the Jack Newton situation, supposedly, and the Victor Presgrove through iMessage. What else has been going on in the background? Now, if we move on to the next slide, this is further action shown. The activity log, February 24th, Michael Facekaz deleted Melissa Lequay's post at 4:01 p.m. And a bit earlier on, January 10th, Christine Cameron approved Melissa Lequay's request to join the group page itself at 10:16 a.m. It's good to see this little history feedback to get an idea of when things took place. Interesting, though, how in 2025, Melissa Lequay got involved on the case discussion page. You'd think if you're a local or you've been involved in the case for quite some time learning about it, you would be a part of these different groups much earlier on. Obviously, some people will have their preferences. As for me, I joined slowly with the different pages one by one as I tried learning from different points of views. And of course, some bridges have been burnt down since because others have got very petty about me. But that aside, the case discussion page, still a part of, still all right, that's fine. And it bridges the gap from the light to the dark. And of course, you're bridging the gap and you get a variety of people. Some bad, reckless ones can come on in as well, but action being taken. So whilst posts have been deleted, it looks like that she's still a part of the page, but based off what's happened March 1st onwards, 2025, being arrested, they're probably not going to be using Facebook for any time soon, right? Now, when we move on to this is supposedly a post on the on the Justice page. I do have a screenshot of a transcript of my own words from the video that I did recently, where other people were trying to counter it and say, oh, I'm spreading misinformation, I'm causing a lot of damage and stuff, which is incorrect because I used appropriate language and wording, and if people still don't believe it, I'll be showing you a transcript later. And whilst at this moment in time, no hard evidence has come through in regard to screenshots of activity of Melissa Lequay being on the Army page, it has done on the Justice page, which is run by the family of all people, and you would think that, you know, the family run page, there would be maybe some tighter restrictions, but it all comes down to the fact that the Justice page is publicly open in the first place, so anyone can come along. As for posting, though, there are limitations and it can be quite tight, and people can be silenced quick and kicked or removed or posts taken down. Moderation maybe it was more stricter in the past compared to recent time, but still it needed to be acknowledged because people have had issues on the justice page, and even opposition or people of interest in the case have been kicked or removed since. So you'd think that with tighter restrictions, someone like Melissa LeQuay wouldn't quite gel well over there. But, depends if they're still active or the last time they were active. February 23rd, this is what I mean. February of 2025, it just seems like this person has just come out of nowhere, out of their cupboard. I mean, what were they doing all the times beforehand? Makes you think. But if there's any grey areas that need filling out, you can always do so below. But let's just read and learn what Melissa LeQuay was getting at, because we're trying to understand the contribution of herself with the case in the community. What does she know? What's her thoughts and viewpoints within the case and the people possibly involved? Does it link in or what? So I'll just read it out to you. Feel free to listen in. Melissa says on February 23rd, 2025, I think, "I'm fine, but I will not be made out to be evil or blamed for Noah's death when I don't even know any of those people except Victor Presgrove. Caleb Newton made me so uncomfortable at my house, and my dog, and every time I see him. I know why, but it's really sad that y'all don't. I pray Noah will get justice someday, but not on me getting a bad reputation because people know what happened to me. But just like then, no one believes you. So I'll live in my prison alone with the trauma I've been through, because obviously all of you haven't watched the news or seen what's happening all around you to all of our people and our children and our world. I've never met Jack Newton in my life, but I have feelings like no other, but my daddy knew." This sounds rather disturbing. Whether they've been on the receiving end of a traumatic event associated with possible people that have caused it or can cause similar things, who just so happen to be tied up within this case itself, or is it the drugs speaking? If there's a level of paranoia within Melissa, if they're intoxicated, high on something, they're not quite thinking clear, irrational thoughts, it can go either way. Because when you break the language down bit by bit and you compare it to in recent time of March onwards, there's a massive contrast, and it makes you wonder why they did what they did and where they've ended up now compared to where they once were. So we'll break it down bit by bit to try and understand what Melissa is getting at here. "I'm fine, but I will not be made out to be evil or blamed for Noah's death." Why would anybody think that Melissa LeQuay could be responsible for Noah Presgrove's death? What, because Melissa is a local, so she must have been in the area at the time? See, whereas we've not really heard of her name before, if we had done earlier on, would any of us be thinking that she's responsible for Noah's death? Probably not, unless if she said a lot of sensitive stuff or questionable things or any threatening behaviour, then you might start wondering, do they know more than others? But besides that, you just think, oh, it's another person. So what have they been on the receiving end of to be thinking they don't want to be called or blamed, labelled as responsible for the outcome of Noah Presgrove? Who previously has labelled Melissa, possibly, by any chance? I wonder. To say that don't even know any of the people except Victor Presgrove. You don't know Noah Presgrove, but you know Noah's dad. Did Noah's dad never introduce Noah to Melissa? I guess not. Why would Melissa know Victor Presgrove? And speaking of the last screenshot, what we saw of the iMessage, Melissa was talking about how the latch is off the door, the alarms are turned off, but you've got your own bedroom or room and space within the house. Something about, and make sure not to let Caleb Newton get away with it, whatever that meant. And then Victor Presgrove responds saying, "Please leave me alone. I'm with my family." Is Melissa LeQuay caught up in her own mess and she's dragging Victor Presgrove in it all for assistance or help? Is Melissa thinking that she's in trouble in a messy situation when she's not really? It's just irrational thoughts. Whilst Melissa can tie herself to Victor and say that she knows him, does Victor really know who Melissa LeQuay is? We've never heard Victor bring up that name before, so it does make you think. The reference to Caleb, though, making her uncomfortable at her house. Why was Caleb Newton at her house? Well, you think of Newton's Plumbing, which is a business where it's father and son, or just the father, Caleb, that, runs it, the business, which we have seen and heard previously mentioned in discussions. And with the previous screenshot of what we did see with Melissa, with like a phone call or a phone log made to Newton's Plumbing, and that newspaper article, what we saw, where it seemed to advertise Newton Plumbing, all seems to link together. But does plumbing link to the death of Noah? No. But does Caleb link to the case in some way onwards? Kind of. But that's only because of being the father to Jack Newton, and Jack Newton being the best friend to Noah and a party goer, and Caleb being down at the highway, the scene, onwards on Monday, September 4th, 2023. So at least being a witness to the crime scene, or just the scene itself, and maybe coming across the odd tooth, whether it was picked up or not, that could well be a rumour in the case and the discussions online, okay? But, at what point, what time, what year did Caleb go round to Melissa LeQuay's house? Was it before or after the death of Noah Presgrove? And why did Caleb make her feel uncomfortable? Is it true, or is it Melissa being irrational? It can go either way, but both, outcomes need to be acknowledged. What could Caleb have done to cause her to feel uncomfortable? To say that Caleb made her dog feel uncomfortable as well, that's a little bit dodgy in a way. But I know dogs and animals, pets, can get defensive of possible intruders or strangers when protecting their owners at times. Was Caleb of an intimidating presence or force? Was he loud? Did he ever shout? Sometimes dogs can react to that. Did Caleb get too close to Melissa? Was any physical contact made? These are only questions, and that is all. Because you know how things can get messy there if you start accusing someone of doing something bad, which makes a female uncomfortable. Got to be very careful there. But what else does she say? I know why, but it's really sad that y'all don't know. What does that mean? Is that implying sexual harassment? Sexual assault? Or is it a person joining the Me Too bandwagon movement of making false claims to destroy a male's life? See, we've got to mention these hard-hitting questions and just, orbit around the different possibilities. Praying for justice, which is obviously a positive, but not on me getting a bad reputation. So Melissa LeQuay isn't willing to do whatever because she does not want to get a bad reputation, because people know what happened to me. What happened to you? Is that in link with what Caleb did to make you feel uncomfortable? Or is it in regard to an old event? Is this all back to the beginning of the Noah Presgrove case, what happened to you? Or is it way back in the past with another event? Locally speaking, what's really going on here? And to say that you're not wanting to do this or that because you don't want to get a bad reputation, more so because of the past as well, too late now, isn't it? Because March 1st onwards, Melissa LeQuay was arrested for 2 counts of assault with the usage of a vehicle, trying to mow a couple down at the home residence, damage to property, $1,000 worth of the ground being chewed up, running people off the highway, being intoxicated with drugs as well, and as well assaulting and resisting a police officer and arrest, kicking, grabbing, and in between. So really, her reputation has, gone downhill since, and not in a good place whatsoever. And maybe the actions, what they did, they weren't of sound mind at the time, and they could be vulnerable. But it just goes to show that at one point Melissa didn't want to do stuff because it could lead to a bad reputation. And when you look at where they are now, it's past that point. To say that I will live alone, I will live alone in my prison with trauma. Well, they literally are locked up now, supposedly, with the crimes that they've committed. So was it the trauma from the past, or something that they've experienced, and it involved a male, a man, a group, I'm kind of interpreting it where it could be going, and then what that led on to next was being in the presence of Caleb, feeling uncomfortable, maybe a misunderstanding or so, but just not feeling at ease. And because of that trauma from the past, dragging along like a ball and chain, dragging you down where you're almost suffocating and drowning, you can't breathe, that to cope with it by taking substances, becoming intoxicated, but that has its own side effects negatively, which makes you act out even more and be irrational, and then take it out on people that don't deserve it, but you're not quite thinking straight, and that's what led to March 1st and the crimes committed. It does make you think. But to also bring it up about Noah Presgrove when resisting arrest from a police officer, why bring up Noah's name? Because you're sick and tired of how this case has gone, but you relate in some way because you didn't get justice yourself in the past from what you've experienced and the trauma along the way and the damage. Makes you wonder. But to say I've been through, and you haven't watched the news or see what's happening around with people, our children and the world, to mention children, and our world kind of implies trafficking. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Was Melissa LeQuay ever trafficked at some point? Trafficked by males? Bad, unfortunate things done towards Melissa. You can interpret it however you want. So that when trauma's caused and then the next time you're around someone who could be a bit dodgy or there's a misunderstanding or certain words are exchanged, body language, such as Caleb, there's just a misunderstanding, supposed red flags, triggered trauma and all that. Or, at the end of the day, is this just someone that is just a bit irrational in the first place and wild things are going on? Who knows? But, at the end of the day, if you've got someone this vulnerable, are they in the right place? Such as a true crime case and community where it can be shark-infested waters. People could take advantage of Melissa LeQuay and force her to do things or feed stuff into her ear to piss her off or to trigger her to then go on and do reckless acts. Who knows? But really, if you are somewhat vulnerable, being in a true crime community where it can be very dark and full of criminals and ex-criminals, it's not a safe place to be. Not always. If you're a bit alert, aware and cautious of your surroundings online and the people around you, then you might be able to handle yourself depending on what capacity and what extent you're involved in a case community and what role you play. But if you are vulnerable, it can go wrong, you can get hurt. That's exactly what happened in the Dylan Rounds case with other viewers who were vulnerable, got brainwashed, indoctrinated, felt trapped, harassed, stalked and threatened and much more. To say that I've never met Jack Newton in my life, but have a feeling like no other, what does that exactly mean? You don't know Jack Newton, but you still reached out to him based off those screenshots, what we've seen. So we're getting a lot of possible depth from this, but it's all down to interpretation. But to be posting something like this onto the Justice page, what does that actually do about Noah Presgrove? This looks like the type of post which could be removed if people deemed it as not discussion worthy enough, not really helpful enough. But someone did get a screenshot of it at some point. Another one here, February 23rd. Any other questions about how to be a good nurse, what it takes to be a nurse, what school you have to go through, all the tests you have to take and pass, the stage you have to walk across, most importantly, the oath you take with God, then another test, and then you graduate with your nursing degree, but you know that if you've done it like me. What's this got to do with the case? Now, one thing what I will acknowledge, because, the screenshots, these are how they were sent over. So, the context of what page is it on. I'm going to put the argument across right now to make it very clear. But this wouldn't surprise me if this post was a public one on her own profile and page. Could be similar to this one as well. There's a fair chance that that's the case, because when I look at the username, sometimes next to it will be the mention of a page or group that you're a part of, what you're posting on. If this is just on her own public page, that's probably what will explain how open she is and why it may still remain. But don't worry, we'll get to the other stuff. But to do with being a nurse, I mean, what's that got to do with the case of Noah Presgrove? unless the theme of nurses, when there was those rumours going about that after the side-by-side rollover, a nurse appeared out of nowhere, went on down to check on Noah to see how he was, and there were a bit of a corrupt, bent nurse. And then there was a nurse when it came to JJ Bumpaz, who had bite marks from Noah, but decided not to take antibiotics from the doctors because they didn't want medical record being tracked, so did it underhand with a dodgy nurse on the sideline, which all of that turned out to be supposed rumours, and that it wasn't JJ Bumpaz, and it wasn't at the time of the bite marks, because it wasn't a bite mark, and it wasn't at the time of the party, it was later onwards, maybe by a few months, and it was his friend called Pekka that ended up cutting himself with, I think, a bottle or some glass. So it's all been all over the place and a complete mess. But the theme of nurses, to be honest, don't surprise me. It just so happens, ironically and coincidentally, that the Dylan Rounds case had an obsession with nurses and psychopath nurses within the community. Very questionable behaviour online. And this is what the most important part is within these different cases of true crime. Whilst what's at hand matters most, it's the community and the behaviour and attitudes by some. Yeah, there might be professionals, might have high-end jobs, might have degrees which can pull out their rear, but how they appear and what they talk about online, which could be seen as questionable at times, threatening, worrying, and in between, and strange and weird, that what are they like in person around their own patients? Oh, they're all nice and kind, whilst holding a syringe. You get what I'm saying? You see the dark side online, but in person you see a caring nurse, a caring doctor. You really want to be in their hands when you know what they're like online? Not that I'm comparing Melissa LeQuay in this situation, but the theme of nurses at times and just how that word and term's been dragged up in cases. But look, here we go. September 5th, 2024. Justice for Noah Presgrove. Proof that Melissa LeQuay was active on the family-run page, and you can see very clearly. So when other humans out there want to say, oh, Melissa LeQuay, she's not here, she's not there, we don't even know her, does she really exist? Well, evidence will say she does, and she has been active. This appears to be reposting a quote. A person's true colours will always show within time. You may be fooled for that moment, but be patient and see what happens. Be patient. A person's true colours. So this is like maybe more aimed at a singular individual. True colours show, you'll see them for what they are. Oh, what? If this is posted on the Justice page, you mean that there is a killer out there. People can't see him, but through patience, you will see who they are and what they truly have done, and they'll reveal it themselves as well, maybe. So who does Melissa LeQuay have in mind then as a possible form of murder or foul play based off this quote and how it's been aimed within the case? Is this back to the Caleb Newton situation with how she felt uncomfortable with him when it came to the plumbing? I wonder. I know there was some comments last night saying, well, people would be pissed off with Caleb Newton if the plumbing was done incorrectly, if there was a loose pipe or not. See, there might be another individual in chat that had a new sink fitted. The U-bend or the pipe underneath was a little bit loose and needed tightening, and it wasn't quite done, so there was a little bit of a drip down below. Of course, you're not going to have this issue if you get in handyman ref. Everything will be nice and tight. You don't need to worry about that. But in all seriousness, we've got a little bit of activity here. Nothing strange, nothing bad going on, being honest. But then we've got this. The Justice page once again, February 19th, 2025, I'm guessing. It could be 2025, it could be 2024. Sometimes it doesn't give the year if the screenshot was taken of the correct year. So if it's been taken in recent time, it's not going to show 2025. But if it was a 2024 and you took the screenshot in 2025, it'll give the 2024 year. It is a bit stupid the way Facebook is, but it's just based off what I've seen with time. Melissa says, just a suggestion. There's so much drama and turmoil trying to read through this. What? The case or your own comment? Maybe what we should do is stop and be still and everybody give it to God totally. For if there's drama and turmoil, someone's taking it back. So let's give it to God together. He's got Noah's back. In quotes, a fool's lips walk into a fight and his mouth invites a beating. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. Well, whilst Melissa does all this, not that it's to appear morally superior over others, but it just goes to show the downfall of them with how they once were compared to where they've ended up in recent time. But in terms of God and religion, it comes across as if none should fight for justice. We should just stop because of the drama and the conflict, not do anything, stay silent, let things simmer down, and then magically religion will solve the case. Realistically, I don't think that's going to work out. Physical action needs to be taken, and with the right people and I guess authorities being involved. What else do we have here? July 27th, 2024, with the actual year given, because it's probably when reflecting back. Cruelty is all out of ignorance. If you knew what was in store for you, you wouldn't hurt anybody, because whatever you do comes back much more forceful than you send it out. Well, the reality is, based off my experiences in the past, bad actions by good people, or bad people masked as good people, what they've done to me in the past, did they ever suffer back or much more? No. So it doesn't always apply. Some people will use certain quotes as a comfort blanket. It's not realistic enough, but you will get exceptions where some positive quotes, as basic as they are, they can be deep and they can be true. But still, for most part of it, not seeing too many problems with Melissa here. As for the justice page, Beth Carr to Melissa, who has threatened you? So this could well be a continuation of the comment thread of what we saw a few days ago, where Melissa said how she's been threatened, she can't say much, and then you had Siobhan Setzer saying, why are you speaking riddles or being cryptic? What's really going on here? It could be all of the same comment thread. I might be wrong, but Beth Carr showing a form of concern. Nobody should be threatened here. You know we have your back. And if you have been threatened, then you can direct message Michael Facecast. This implies that it's from the case discussion page. This and probably links on with what I was suggesting then, because Michael Facecast being a part of the case discussion page. So it all links, yeah. He will take care of it. I promise you. Some have been falsely accused of this. Of what? What have people been falsely accused of? And unfortunately, Facebook fails to identify who has been reported the page. Just remember, many attacks come upon us from the vile side, who are the actual ones doing what they claim we are. This is what narcissists do. Did Facebook notify admins that this group has actually been reported, or is it so hearsay? Right. So it's to do with what? The case discussion page being reported, Melissa being threatened at the same time. For Beth Carr to refer to the vile side responsible for numerous attacks, basically Beth Carr is calling out the dark side, the Tim Daniels, the Robbie Taylors, the Brookbound Carters, the Stevie Howards, Tim Daniels, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's like when people say, oh, there's no sides, or, oh, why are you calling out the light side? Well, you got the light side calling out the dark side. The dark side should be allowed to call out the light side, and I should be able to call out both sides for that complete balance, whether people like it or not. We've got, obviously, the keywords of narcissist. That has been used with time. But this is the thing, Beth Carr, and it applies to people on the light side. If you want true balance, I'll give you an example right now. It can be interpreted that Warlike Wrath is being too one-sided and being too negative of the army page. If I'm really being so one-sided towards the army page, the light side, and it's really bad, just remember that there are still dickheads within the dark side that have still got an agenda, petty behaviour, and, just their attitude and tone of voice when it comes towards me. Okay? It still happens. Let's not forget the time when... what were they called? AJ calling me a narcissist, and that's a person from the dark side. So if you think about it, like, such a true contrast to put it all into perspective. You got the light side that are sick and tired with the dark side because they're such narcissists, such bad, evil people. And then you got warlike wrath in the middle. If the dark side are such narcissists, and some dark side members are accusing warlike wrath as being the biggest narcissist about, what does that say? It shows full-on balance, that if you can be hated by both sides because you look at the positives and negatives with both sides, but those sides only focus on the negatives of what you acknowledge and not the positives, you can clearly see the balance. When people get triggered, when you show balance, that's when there should be a level of concern, because why do they show resistance when you show balance? It sounds as if they want it one-sided. Why would you want it one-sided? Is everything one-sided in life? Nope. And should it be that way? Nope. Because there's multiple stories. Really says a lot. Melissa says, Beth Carr, call me. And then there's like some AR generated emoji or emoticon of herself looking scared. But besides that, if we move on to the next slide, continuation of what we saw, Melissa says, text me, TikTok. I don't know. And Beth says, I did. What happened after that? I mean, Beth Carr, if you have been in contact with Melissa LeQuay, feel free to give a summary rundown to give that additional context in regard to what's really going on here, because there are people out there that may support Melissa LeQuay or understand what one is going through, and at the same time calling others out by saying, you know, you don't understand it, or, oh, it's been twisted, this, and it doesn't quite apply to the case, or other people are forcing an agenda. Well, explain it then. Set the record straight. Some people at times within different cases can say that they know a lot, that they know things, this and that, but they won't explain it, they won't share it themselves, but they'll still continue about a problem still existing. If you have the answers, you could probably put a problem down or put it to rest, but if you're not going to take action, then you can't expect things to change. After taking the time to look at those additional screenshots, it just fills it out more that Melissa LeQuay has been active and present elsewhere, even if others have said, nope, she hasn't been. As for the army page, well, I've not seen any hard evidence yet. But as said, at the time when I was talking about it, I did raise questions in the first place. I will get to the transcript later when I'm using it as a counterpoint to false reports being made in regard to me. That'll become very clear shortly. But just to reflect back on Melissa LeQuay, whilst on the case discussion page, she was a little bit active there, a post removed, obviously rules being broken or not of an appropriate nature, a small sign of concern, a red flag to expect what next would happen, what would follow a few months later, March 1st, probably not quite. See, there's got to be a level of understanding and leniency that, like, from the justice page to the case discussion page, that when you welcome someone like that in, you're not going to know that they're that way, or that they are irrational or a bit erratic or possible a danger to the general public, more so in real life. You're just not going to know that side to them until it's too late or they start showing early warning signs. And was there any early warning signs? Not from the looks of it. Now, of course, as said, making it clear once again, crimes committed by her don't link to the Noah Presgrove case. But if you've got like Beth Carr and other people calling Melissa LeQuay an advocate for justice and for Noah Presgrove, and due to the severity, the damage done to Noah, the injury sustained, the possible vehicle usage being involved, maybe not as a hit and run, but being hit by a vehicle, knocked, run over, crushed, and then you got Melissa LeQuay almost trying to crush and run people over in real life. It's very hypocritical in a way. But of course, if they're not of sound mind or there are additional factors going on in the background, they might not be able to control themselves. Is there anybody about that can look out for them? Doesn't seem to be the case. But then you can put that argument across and say, was anyone out there looking out for Robin Smith in the early days when Robin was willing to blast Avery Combs' location publicly, when at a baby shower of all places at a brewery in a separate room? So along the way, those within the case, victims' family, people of interest, families of the people of interest, members of the general public, could be victims at times, even if others don't want to call it that, and or can be vulnerable at times. But are there other people looking out for them? Not always. People can go under the radar and then bad things happen. down the line, that could there have been a point in time that with Melissa LeQuay, if it hadn't been online and it didn't happen, that till this day, what would happen? Where would she be? What would be posted? Was there any issues on the Justice page? Any follow-ups there? I mean, it just seems like around February it's like 2024 onwards. It's interesting when others say, well, I've never seen this Melissa LeQuay before, but you know, now there is evidence and proof to say that she has been a little bit active on the case discussion page and more so active on like the Justice page, case discussion and Justice page. Army page, unknown of. But it's just highlighting the themes of, just from my own point of view and encounters in the past, that when there might be unstable people about, they might care or claim to care about a case, but things could get caught up in the process. But to be honest, you could even do another type of contrast, put the argument across that someone like Melissa LeQuay, who may have done bad things in real life, which does not link to the case or community, that they still were more stable than actual stable people, mentally functioning okay, who have caused more harm and damage in this case. So you can throw it back and forth with the different viewpoints and outlooks, but it was still important to show this other side. And, you know, the way people react to my video, at least the original video that I did, and I'm trying to twist and put a different spin on it, is very reckless itself, and I will be defending myself today, and that's where we start right now. The siege has been deployed. The defences are being put out because it needs to be done, a formal procedure, of course. We look at some additional comments as well by Justin Roy and others from the video that I did, and what Michelle Ray Brummett has done. That is the particular problematic person in question of most recent time, and they do have form for being problematic, such as in the past as well. I'll give you a bit of context regarding that. But first of all, when people say about the video that I did to do with Melissa LeQuay and how it was worded and what was talked about, wording it as if I'm the one accusing her and accusing others of allowing, welcoming one like that onto the Army page. Now, I was questioning, well, if it is true, is there any hard evidence to back it up? When I ask for evidence, it means I'm not convinced enough. Do people not understand language and wording? Did I say it is a fact that this individual is on the Army page? No. Did I read other people claiming it as a fact? Yes. Am I relaying it? Yes. Am I countering it with questions? Yes. When I ask for evidence, it shows that I'm not convinced easily without it. How do people fail to understand that? Come on. By now, after all this time, and even some viewers as well fail to understand. As I said, we'll be highlighting some of the names shortly. There was the odd questionable comment by Laura Dutton as well, which was a little bit cryptic, but the same language and wording links onto the Army page. You know, as said, it's very interesting how when the sudden action taken, a call to arms and references made in a way behind my back, how it's at a time of when I'm not on the Facebook Army page after being removed. Interesting. Of course, people take action based off what they need to do. That's fine. You close a door off. That's okay. But don't be complaining afterwards when you're like, why are you not questioning this? Why are you not acknowledging this post and this important piece of material? How can one acknowledge it if one does not have access to it? Come on, use common sense. I will then think outside of the box, and then I will think elsewhere. See, this is what I mean. If people were like pushing the concept of warlike wrath only on one side, even though I'm not, because I've been very lenient with time, looking at it from both ways, either at the same time or one after the other, spending more time with the light side than the dark side, still not good enough for some people, is that if people from the light side are pushing that narrative about being one-sided, if you close access and doors off to someone like me, and then what do? Where do I go? Oh, tough shit, poor Andy, where does he go? I'll just go in a different direction. But all you're doing is pushing the concept of being one-sided in a very unnatural, forced way. That, oh, so you're trying to force an external self-fulfilling prophecy upon myself. So not that I fulfill that self-fulfilling prophecy upon your labels, but you're applying it and trying to get into me. I mean, I know when it came to Michael Fay's Kaz, that was labelled as a hacker, getting people's IP addresses and doing all kinds of shady stuff like that. I've not seen any evidence of it, but with what people were labelling Michael as, and then Michael Fay's Kaz decided to spam my comment section of a live chat whilst I'm trying to cover the Noah Presgrove case, which should be the most important thing. Michael is too busy doing all these weird cryptic coded messages pretending to hack into people, which could be interpreted as going against YouTube terms of services, but left it as it was, freedom of speech, despite it being abused. But what Michael did there, whilst taking the piss or messing about, he fulfilled that self-fulfilling prophecy by becoming what you are not, but what people label you supposedly as something else. You become that label. So you kind of feed into those external people. What others could be doing with time by kicking Warlight Raf out here or shutting the door there, oh, no access to the light side, fair enough. Well, then all I've got now is the dark side and that company. I'll go over here. I'll only stay here because I can't go anywhere else. Oh, that now makes me one-sided, but not by choice, because doors and other areas, opportunities have been closed off. There's not much one can do. But this is the thing which humans always underestimate, is that when one door closes, does another one open? Not always. What actually happens is when Warlight Raf starts thinking outside of the box. I am the catalyst, the originator, the causation of map analysis and routes and pinpoints and timestamps and it being ordered out efficiently. I can always return back to that, just like how I did in 2022 for 3 fucking years straight, or even the Kenny Veach case, mapping out hike routes of a location, a country I've never been to before, but it being so damn accurate and precise that actual US residents used my maps, my distancing, my routes, even though I have no clue of the area, I have no clue what it looks like in real life, yet somehow I just added a point here, a point there, go over the mountain, go down there, there's the distance, there's the time, and guess what? It fucking worked. It worked for hikers. Did everybody get back safely? Yes. Was it under control? Yes. Was Warlight Raf under control? Obviously. How's it that difficult? People can't comprehend it, can they? With time, it's a little bit embarrassing. So when things close off, outside of the box thinking can start, providing there is stuff to talk about, and then as well, the other areas that are somewhat accessible, looking at it that way. See, once again, it's okay to push the murder concept, the foul play concept, those that know, those that are responsible. But where's the hard evidence? Where's the material to work with? Oh, the only material to work with is based off side-based things of others who weren't actually there, based off the behaviour and threats. And whilst that is important and serious enough, by the way, Raf, don't be using it. Keep it private. So how the hell do you expect any coverage then? What is the incompetence going on? Do you see how it's going? If certain, I say minorities, I'm using clear language, wording which people still fail to understand. That at times with the light side, maybe the army page, that some people may be experiencing some things or encounters or believe some stuff, but by the way, Keep it private. Don't be posting. Don't be talking about it. Don't be spreading that awareness about an important issue at hand that could link to the case. Oh, but by the way, Raf, why are you covering all this from the dark side? Why are you covering all these pieces of material and attacking the light side and attacking Caden Pressey and attacking this and that and the army? Why are you doing that? Oh, it's because there is actual material to work with. It's one-sided. Oh, that's really bad. It doesn't have to be. But people of the opposition, the light side, choose for it to be one-sided because they don't want certain material to be released public, but they still expect coverage whilst not actually wanting you to cover material. How the hell am I supposed to do coverage when there's nothing to cover because the material is locked? So either it's locked and I keep this shut and there's no coverage whatsoever from that perspective, or there is material accessible, it is covered, there is balance, there is perspective, but that's been not present since. That's not my problem, is it? So what's the alternative? Oh yeah, here's the deal, Raf. Here's this. This is what's really going on. This person can't talk because that person's been threatened. That person believes that person's responsible for the death. There's another party that goes along with Caden Pressey, but they can't speak out and they can't do this. Got to keep it all classified. Keep it all quiet. Don't say anything. And then what? Don't make any videos. So I'll be told who's responsible for the death of Noah Presgrove, who knows what the real situation is, the threats in the background, how dark the dark side really is. You've taken all that information in, Raf, but you can't cover it publicly, so don't do anything now. Keep your mouth shut, don't make any videos, and then leave it like that. Really, really good and useful that, isn't it? Not. So, we're taking that into mind and just the ignorant behavior and impetuous egocentric type attitude of humans when it comes to interpreting my videos in recent time, the language wording used, how whilst maybe, older videos that I did in the past when looking at the light side, the army page, the bold points and claims made by people, whether it be Justin Roy, Michael Facecast, or another person that may have said, no one's accusing of these people of anything or direct murder. I've seen it myself. I've seen it on the army page in the early days when certain individuals were outright boldly stating as an absolute fact of confidence and certainty, like it was absolutely true, even though there was no hard evidence to back it up at the time, of people saying Jack Newton is the murderer, Jack Newton killed Noah, Jack Newton knows what's happened, and much more. Carter Combs whacked Noah on the back of the head with a golf club, then ran away, and others finished him off. JJ Bumpaz is responsible for the death of Noah Presgrove, and he was kicking Noah on the ground and got bit as well, and others joined on in and were laughing and recorded it. These are statements, lines and words said by people from the army page crossing over to the case discussion page. I've seen it with my eyes, and then for others to say, ooh, well, no one's actually accused anyone of being a flat-out murderer. I've not seen any of that. Is that just plain dumb? Is that turning a blind eye, turning the cheek the other way? Being lenient towards your own group, your own tribe? Oh, but then when it's done elsewhere externally, of looking at other people with how they say things, and it could be bold without evidence. How could you, Warlight Rav? How could you do that? Oh, but it was perfectly okay when I was relaying bold statements by people, possibly making false accusations as well about others and damaging other people. It was okay for me to relay that. I didn't get told off by the same said people because I was covering what they were saying. I was giving them a voice. But the moment I give the darkness a voice that act at times the same way as the light side, oh, now I'm a bad person? Just think of all the times when I covered it from the light side perspective. And yet, in terms of like publicly and openly, I didn't receive that many attacks from the dark side, but there were many opportunities for that to happen, and it would have been understandable. Yet it just didn't. So it is extremely one-sided. And we've not even started yet, right? This is just the introduction, in case you were wondering. What I want to share with you next will be a couple of screenshots in regard to the army page, and whilst I don't have access to it, oh, is that why people can take action now? Because they think I'm not going to see, I'm not going to hear. I did see, I did hear, and as well, it has been acknowledged publicly in the comment section of my own video by Michelle Ray Brummett. But Michelle, the individual with the wonky glasses, I do believe that they've got a different username or a different last name on YouTube. A little bit dodgy in terms of trying to identify who is who, but it's very clear now that they are the same person, because when looking at their tag handle, their full name is present there, publicly viewable, the same as it is on Facebook too. Michelle Ray Brummett is a viewer on my channel and also a channel member, where they've got access to exclusive perks, badges, emojis, custom ones, and how they've acted in recent time. They're definitely not deserving of being a member on my channel, but unfortunately YouTube gifts out memberships to random people, which is most unfortunate. So if I was to do a preview, or if I was to do some kind of post, a members only one, and because Michelle Ray Brummett is a member, there would be a high chance that she would either leak it or pass it on to other people out there, or be petty. I know how their actions and behaviour work, and I've also seen it before with others. There's been other cretins in the past, like Miriam, that French female from Paris, a student, couple of years younger than me or a year older than me, but absolute disease-ridden mindset, very problematic individual, went off to the Intelligent People Hate Me channel. You can definitely tell where all those gather. But, you know, in case anyone was wondering, because it probably is the right time now to really explain it, and I do require people's focus right now, okay? People, humans, wanted to know in regards to who is a part of the third group, the Misfits, the problematic individuals directly at hand, or those that associate themselves with other personalities that are problematic, which you could argue and say birds of a feather flock together. You might come across some people that seem okay, but then may question why someone like you, who's a good person, an advocate, why would you merge yourself with others out there like that? Whether it be because subconsciously, deep within, you really are like that inclined, or you become it. Once you spend enough time around the darkness, it consumes you, it activates something within, or it grows as well. I've seen it myself within the Dylan Rounds case. I know exactly how things can go, how people from my channel can go elsewhere, be consumed, the life, the energy drained out of them, and all that remains is toxic waste inside, which leaks out their mouth, and how they act and react, their mindset gone, their intelligence decreased, a massive downfall from where they were, a fall from grace, a fallen angel. There is no innocence whatsoever, no more within their soul, and outwards expressed, that when they do return back, they're not the same person what they once were before they left. What I saw there can happen here, and it has done. That when there was members on my channel, such as Miriam, K Love, a male, and some others, disease-ridden humans, wretched mindsets, unfortunately members, and then at the time I did a community post in regards to members only, in which I wasn't aware that those said named individuals and some others were to go on elsewhere and report it back to somebody else and leak members only content, which, I don't know, maybe you could put a claim across and say it might break some guidelines, but nevertheless, people going behind my back when they've been given memberships, not deserving of it whatsoever, they were cleansed with time. Disease-ridden humans will be cleansed here because it's necessary. So I hope there's any other people lurking in the background. Cleansing will take place and is needed, most definitely. Hopefully you understand that. But in terms of the third group, When it comes to Misfits, problematic people in the case who are probably worse than the dark side, worse than the light side, arguably. I'll give you a few examples. Of course, criminals hate me. A problematic individual, also known as Travis Davidson, threatening to sue anyone and everything, including me, even before their Criminal Hate Me alt channel was set up. For no good reason, threatening to sue me, threatening to sue Donna Bond, threatening to sue really anyone that simply mentioned the person's name in any context. Absolutely childlike mentality, pathetic. Then later, going on to harassment, threats, and much more aimed towards me. Deepfake imagery of me used without my consent, and much more. So you got someone like that claiming to care about justice for Noah whilst acting out in that way with time. But then along the way, others that may gather audience members are no better, correct? So as for the third group, you have Travis Davidson, you have Jan Fiorillo, you have Pam Feldman Garrison, you have, I think, Tammy Bell, possibly, another individual, Caleb, Miriam, Teresa, the one with the grey profile picture. That's the way it's going. And I believe it's Tammy Bell. And if it's not Tammy Bell, it's a different Tammy. But you get an idea of these like middle people who are very questionable in how they act, behave. And there'll be many others as well, and other names, of course. I don't know if that would apply to another named individual who was on my channel at one point, but I will mention it now just in case, because I might as well. See, the thing is, I've been extremely lenient. I've seen how people have acted. I've seen how people have, what they've said to me and how they've treated some other people too. I've been a bit lenient. And when it happens a second time or a third time, enough is enough. See, I don't know if Safia, are people aware of Safia, may have been present on the Criminal Hate Me channel. I don't know if they've changed in their ways or not since. They have gone quiet. But what I will say is, Safia was the individual that indirectly suggested that I am a sexist and females are terrified of me because of what exactly? Because of not wanting to give criticism because they're just scared of me. Now, I can understand if people are terrified of my hairline because it is pretty fucked, okay? Bold patches more than Make-A-Wish Foundation. But that aside, okay, for Safia to indirectly suggest that I am a sexist and then later go on to say, Warlight Ref, your voice, your eyes melt me. That is toxic and dangerous. Is that some kind of love-hate relationship of some sort? It seems as twisted as the Vanessa Salazar accusing or suggesting that I am married to them when I am not. You go from calling somebody indirectly suggesting them a sexist to then saying, you melt me so much, Ref. And there were witnesses present in the live chat that saw it themselves. Do I care if humans are melted? Who knows? There only needs to be one that's melted, okay? But aside from that, it's just very unusual the way people can act and what they can say and then later act all nice afterwards. Almost like two-faced behavior. And I detest two-faced people. I detest full-on hypocrites, okay? And so on and so on. So we've kind of highlighted the third group and how problematic they can be and how they do act and gather together. If I may just add in a few additional names as part of the third group that are very problematic, that would apply to Sheree Divine Visions, the card reader. Also apply to will also apply to Amy Tuesday Horzempa, very problematic individual. And was there anybody else on the sideline? There might be, if the name comes to my mind, I'll suggest it. But, you get the idea of a couple of different people here and there and how they can act. And it's just disappointing. don't always see it immediately. It happens with time. But as soon as you get the true colours, that's what matters most. Then you know how to deal with things and who to cleanse and who not. In this moment in time, there still needs to be a level of freedom of speech, for example, this video itself. And then sometime onwards, then there will be cleansing because it's most definitely needed. Unfortunately, when it comes to channel memberships, the creator can't cancel channel memberships. But if that was ever available, then, you know, when people act out in a naughty way, they can be put on a naughty step and will be treated accordingly for sure. This moment in time, unfortunately, YouTube doesn't have that feature or option. So hopefully changes can be made in the future, because at times there will be some individuals, as we've seen, that are very undeserving of being a channel member, and then how they abuse it afterwards is absolutely pathetic. So when it comes to these different named people, the main focus of today is Michelle Ray Brummett, an individual that wears wonky glasses and is a two-faced parasite. As I've seen myself, they reached out on TikTok with a very long paragraph inquiring about something which I just couldn't be bothered to look at because, you know, based off their attitude and personality, I was still cautious of from the very first time I came across them when they were first problematic. I'll give you a tiny little history lesson right now before we move on to the massive problem at hand, okay? That at one point when I was reading out comments and looking at stuff, Michelle Ray Brummett went onto Facebook on either the case discussion page or the army one. I think it was more so the case discussion page, within a comment section or thread, made a reference falsely claiming that Warlight Ref called them a bitch. Now, how they may act from then till now and onwards, other people could call them that, but I did not, okay? I have never called them that word, the B word, but either they interpreted it as if that's what I called them, because they simply have a language barrier with my advanced vocabulary, wording, and just how I go about stuff. They're just not on the same wavelength as me, maybe. In other ways, if it's not that, it's because they were just trying to put words into my mouth, then dish it towards themselves so they can play as a victim and gain favour and support in that sense. But I don't think they would be doing it like that. I just think that they are not on the same wavelength as me, that there was an unfortunate misunderstanding at the time, that they didn't apologise to the best of my knowledge or memory, that it just faded away. But as you know, when things fade away, the cracks are still there. It can always implode on itself down the line. It doesn't get better, it can only get worse. And obviously that's what's happened. But it was absolutely pathetic what Michelle Ray Brummett did back then on Facebook, falsely accusing Warlike Raf of calling them the B word, and there was absolutely no evidence of it. But other people were stupid enough to fall for it, including one person, a female, with the last name called Fazekaz. I don't know if they're related or the wife to Michael Fazekaz, but nevertheless, easily convinced and just went along with it. Oh my God, how could this person call you that? I'm surprised as well, because I've yet to see any evidence that supports that that's what happened in the first place. There is no evidence to support it. But you can see how when a female makes a false claim about a male, and you can see how it goes from there, based off Me Too movements over time and much more down the line, that males nowadays can be considered the villains, just because the opposite gender can at times manipulate and play the victim, and they benefit that sense. But it's also important to acknowledge that when you get certain people of the opposite gender to play the victim in a manipulative way, it actually makes a mockery and has a massive negative effect on other people of the same gender who are genuinely suffering in bad situations and places. That one prat ends up making it worse off for everybody else down the line, okay? Like when you get a person that makes a false claim about rape, and then you've got many other people who have genuinely gone through that, but they're not going to be believed because of one individual that made a false claim, and then the outlook and outview of others looking in. It's all distorted and messed up. So you can see how it can have a negative knock-on effect. It's not good. Embarrassing, to be honest. But that's just the mindset when it comes to Michelle Ray Brummett making false accusations in regard to myself and what I've supposedly said, even though there's no evidence of it, and other people seem to be dumb enough to fall for it, which, you know, it's just embarrassing. There's no reasoning ability. There's no patience. People just jump on in and listen and believe in it. People from the light side, possibly, and then they have the cheek to say, oh, the way Warlight Raf does things on his videos, how dare he's such a bad person. And yet there's a level of patience here. Others making bold points. I'm relaying, I'm listening, I'm reading it, and then trying to process it in my mind and counter it with, well, do you have evidence to support it? Is it strong enough to stand just in words, yes or no? I'm showing that level of depth, understanding, and patience. Others do not show that. That people from the light side who are not as patient, who could be a bit impetuous at times, that jump the gun and use piss poor language and wording, get a free pass and are lenient, or others are lenient towards them. Seems double standards in my mind. But that aside, whilst Michelle Ray Brummett has been a problematic person in the past, and then how they've been since on YouTube, somewhat neutral, maybe a little bit positive, turning over a new leaf, or just being two-faced, pretty much the latter. Because when you look at the Army page, at least in recent time, there has been a post made by Michelle Ray Brummett, a call to arms in regard to reporting Warlight Raf's video, and supposedly channel as well, based off the comment on YouTube. So basically, Michelle Ray Brummett wants one of my recent videos to be taken down when covering the Noah Presgrove case. It sounds a little bit backwards, that. The Army page, Justice for Noah Presgrove, the light side, wants to silence Warlight Raf when covering this case. How embarrassing does that sound? I'm going to show you the screenshots right now so you can see it for yourself. We can break it down, analyze, check the comments out and other people's opinions and reactions, and then go from there. Head on over to the YouTube comment section as well, where it's kind of elaborated a little bit further. Justin Roy has a few things to say separately about what's gone down with the Melissa LeQuay situation, and I'll give you my closing thoughts from there on. Be sure to stick around. So what you're looking at on screen is Michelle Salcedo, but while some could say, well, this is a different Michelle compared to the Michelle Ray Brummett here, well, you look at closer under their username, it says at Michelle Brummett 64. This individual, same person here from the looks of it. If by any small chance that it's two people with the same name, that is extremely unfortunate. But to my knowledge, and what Michelle may have said previously in the past, there is a link to be made, same individual. But you look down below at some of the comments like, thanks Raf for continued coverage helping keep this case in the public eye. It sounds quite positive, doesn't it? But then Michelle Ray Brummett here is, this video has blatant lies and misinformation. So what is really going on? And take in consideration that Michelle herself, her comments made on my YouTube channel have the same exact tone and attitude as what's mentioned here. Right now, I am being extremely lenient, trying to find the smallest possible explanation to maybe say it's different people, but no, it's the same exact person. And the reason why Michelle Brummett is such an incompetent human is because they're also a very two-faced individual. By saying, Warlight Raf, thank you for your coverage, you know, being all positive, and then, you know, turning it up elsewhere. It's just so, what do you call it? It's just so, what would you call it? It's just on the spot, abrupt. That's what it is. So abrupt out of nowhere. And you know what's even more crazy? Michelle Brummett says, sounds like one crazy ass bitch. And that's what Michelle says herself as proof and evidence, which Michelle could never do when making false claims about me previously. You see the comment there on screen. Commented on Noah Presgrove supporter arrested, which was to do with Melissa LeQuay. I covered the video about Melissa LeQuay, and Michelle called Melissa a crazy ass bitch. And then Michelle has the cheek to go on Facebook and say that same video, which she called Melissa LeQuay, a crazy ass bitch, also wanted to report the video. What is going on with this person's mindset and attitude? It's so all over the place. Does Michelle Ray Brummett know where they really are? Are the lights on but no one's home? Because they just switch up so quick from being a little bit positive to actually insulting the person that's committed a crime by calling them crazy and a bitch, but then saying, well, like Raf, your video is incorrect and misinformation. So why did you leave that comment then and then go against it afterwards? It's just very weird behaviour. And it probably extends more in other areas too. But let's just actually read it here. Michelle Ray Brummett has been added as an admin on the Army page in recent time, and that applies to some other members or new people since. In recent time, people becoming new admins, meaning they've got power and control. And what's the first thing Michelle Ray Brummett decides to do when being appointed as an admin, being appointed power? Oh, let's go against the person that we've consumed a lot of content and material from and report and take his videos down. Or a video. Yeah, that's a great job. Really good. Consumer and viewer Michelle Ray Brummett decides to take down and want videos to be taken down. That's the individual. In case you're wondering, that's Michelle Ray Brummett with the glasses, as you can see. Top contributor, supposedly, on Facebook. Are they a good contributor or a negative contributor? Absolutely a negative contributor, from my experience. Michelle types up and says, this video of Warlike Ref has blatant lies and misinformation about the Army page. Please report it as it's misinformation. We appreciate all of you. Let's stop this misinformation and get back to justice for Noah. Oh, I see. There's a call to arms. There's a call for action. But when another YouTube channel out there and how they were acting towards me, with the slanderous claims of insulting nature, certain material, threats of location be revealed, sexual deviant type activity aimed towards people that I know of in life, and threats there. Oh, did people do a call to arms like externally and elsewhere in pages and groups to do like a mass report? No, it didn't happen. That was okay. Turn a blind eye. That's all fine and good. It's funny, haha, because the person still cares about Noah Presgrove while still going after me. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But then, something like this, the moment the Army page is mentioned, right, report this person. No freedom of speech. I'm doing it on my own on a different platform. I'm doing it on my own channel. I'm not even doing it on the Army page. So you can clearly see that if people are taking action like this, that if I was to say anything like how other people did on the Army page, if I actually did leave comments and posts, I probably would have been blocked and removed really, really early on. Very petty behaviour, overly emotional, one-dimensional, obtuse mindset, and not balanced whatsoever. And in terms of the video that I did, I wasn't even really attacking the Army page. What I find absolutely pathetic by Michelle Ray Brummett is by saying it's blatant lies and misinformation and it's harming the Army page. I think you need to look back to the source where it originated from of the supposed misinformation, and that's supposedly from the Reddit page. Michelle Ray Brummett, are you following up on that? Doesn't seem like it. Instead, you're going after me instead. What's going to be the counterpoint though? Oh, but Warlike Ref, you should know better. You should not be doing this or that. You see misinformation elsewhere. You shouldn't be covering it in the first place. If you relay misinformation on, that's just as bad. Oh, but doing the same thing on the Army page in the past or the case discussion page, that was perfectly okay. Yeah. So it's okay to do it one way but not the other. So you're not going to allow that balance. And once again, I don't know if I've got it on screen right now, but there's a transcript. There is the transcript of what I said, almost word for word, depending how YouTube generates it, in terms of what I said in that video in question which people want reporting and taken down. So Michelle Ray Brummett is doing a public call to arms, a public action of inspiring as many people on the Army page to take down Warlike Ref.
The same individual that has single-handedly kept this case alive from day one of getting involved, at least on the YouTube side. Who single-handedly kept the case alive on the main Reddit page of Noah Presgrove for a few months. The same people on those pages that ended up removing me or kind of deleting some of my posts, silencing me. It's absolutely embarrassing and pathetic, these humans and what they do and how they act. So Michelle Ray Brummett believes that my video in recent times should be reported for harassment and bullying, misinformation, spam and misleading, and wants as many people to follow through with that. So basically, as a heads up, anyone watching right now or maybe on catch up, if you wonder why one of my previous videos is missing, it's down to Michelle Ray Brummett and the other people on the army page that have followed through with falsely reporting a video of mine. So, when the light side were all about pushing it back, yeah, well, like Raf, your video on Caleb Newton and Jack Newton and some other things in between which were falsely reported back then and some taken down. Oh, it's the dark side probably responsible for that. Well, look where we are right now. People on the light side are trying to silence me. You can see we've gone full circle to the true circus nature of what's going on. In terms of some of the comments or responses within that same thread, Beth Cards, Michael Face Cards, they have no ammunition, ha ha ha. I think that's more so in response to the dark side. Michelle Ray Brummett says to Michael, exactly, and she's not even on the army page. It's straight up lies. Lies, supposedly, by other people. But what was shown today, Michelle Ray Brummett, that there is a little bit of screenshot evidence of one being present on the case discussion page, but also more so on the justice page as well. 2 of the 3 groups proven to be correct, right? The one which supposedly is a lie, which Michelle is referring to here, I myself regarded it as I need evidence to believe in it. And up to now, I've not seen any evidence, so I'm not going with it as a fact. Michelle, you've not listened, have you? Michelle says, Warlight Ref at one time was unbiased, but just watching the lives shows you where the money is coming from. Super chats my ass. Right, I'm going to zoom in right now. This is the biggest load of bollocks I have ever seen in my entire life. This is the true epitome of low IQ thinking and really, really peasant-like mentality. This is disease-ridden, peasant-like presence of humans which have absolutely zero clue understanding, absolutely zero reasoning ability. Michelle Ray Brummett, you says that in the past that Warlight Wrath was unbiased. Please don't be saying that it was unbiased like when it comes to like in the really, really early days. In the really, really early days, I did what I could, but I was only looking at it from the light side perspective. I wasn't acknowledging it from the dark side. I wasn't acknowledging it the same way from the Mikey Lairs, the Carter Combs, the Avery Howard situation. I was only looking at it from Caden Pressy's point of view. I was only really looking at it from the murder situation and whatnot. I didn't acknowledge the other things until I finally got to that point and when other people started reaching out to me. So if Michelle Ray Brummett, if your form of being unbalanced, if your, thoughts, if you believe that Warlight Ref was unbiased at the time of when I was only looking at Caden Pressy and defending him and nobody else, if you think that's unbiased and you think it's balanced, then you really are more an incompetent person than what I thought to begin with. This is embarrassing. So because Warlight Ref has received super chats because people just want to support my channel, it comes from being paid off. You do realise, Michelle Ray Brummett, that over time, people from the light side have supported me and in recent time have done so in generous ways, all by people's own choices. And regardless of super chats or not, I continue to cover the cases. It really is embarrassing. Michelle and others who want to do the research, you look at my recent videos that I've done Have I received $100 donations in the live chat? Nope. Have I received $50 donations in the chat in recent time? Nope. It's been very quiet over the last month or so, with the exception of last night with just some here and there. Big shout out to people that did support the channel. Forgot to mention that. But over the course of the month and it's been very quiet and dry. But guess what? I've still been making videos regardless. Michelle Ray Brummett, your reasoning ability is just as pathetic as those from the Dylan Rounds case in the past with what they had to say, how they were thinking. You know, this forced, unnecessary agenda of being paid off is embarrassing. Michelle Ray Brummett, if I'm supposedly being paid off by the dark side, then why am I still giving the time of day to Justin Roy and Michael Facecaz and listening to them then? You ask me that. If I was so paid off, then surely I would be ignoring Justin Roy yapping on and Michael Facecaz in terms of, you got to cover this, you got to cover this, what about this, you know that, I thought you knew better, naughty Raph, naughty boy, getting told off like a little schoolboy, but I still listen. Today's video, sharing and acknowledging Michael Facecaz screenshots. Michelle, what is going on with your mind? I think you might need to rethink yourself. Laura Dutton is no better as a human, because Laura Dutton, and I was very lenient before, but I will acknowledge it now, Laura Dutton was the individual alongside Divine, Sheree, and Amy Tuesday, Michelle Horzemper, and Vanessa Salazar, and a couple of other females as well. It was basically an all-female group chat on Facebook, which I was invited to as one male, which was a bit unusual. Then some people were fantasizing about some 25-year-old shirtless waiter at a restaurant, and people like pouncing on that person, and it's just a little bit, you know, desperate in a way, but, you know, people fantasizing about that and all. And I'm thinking, what the hell have I got myself into? Then it came to the Vanessa Salazar situation, who was a part of that group and who invited me in the first place. The claim about Vanessa Salazar marrying Warlight Raph and being with Warlight Raph, and I'm completely clueless to it at best of times. Then comes a day where Vanessa Salazar is supposedly hurt or upset, and I'm just doing my own thing, keeping my head down without being dragged into defending everybody else's shit. But then Laura Dutton ends up going against me amongst a couple of other people, interrogating me in a group chat on Facebook privately by saying, Warlight Raph, what are you doing? Tell us the truth. Why are you treating Vanessa Salazar the way you are? She's kind, she's nice, she's lovely. You're being a really bad person, Warlight Raph. We need answers right now. And Laura Dutton would not be patient, would not speak coherently or clearly at the time, and I was trying to understand what's really going on, ask questions in appropriate order to receive answers so that I can give back feedback, and they were very verbally aggressive, Laura Dutton, very forceful and demanding in answers. And ever since, Laura Dutton just played it off as in, well, I didn't know, you know, Vanessa Salazar, the way she was. Think for yourself. Use reasoning ability. It's not that difficult. Much older, much more experienced, yet worse in reasoning ability compared to myself. How embarrassing. You know? Pay for play. Laura Dutton using that same comment on YouTube in recent time. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm aware of who are the cancers, and I'm seeing it on screen right now, very clearly. It's just that with time, I was trying to be lenient, trying to allow freedom of speech, but you see where that goes, you see how people act, and it's all from the light side. It's all from the army page. The army page was good in the early days. It was helpful, but then people's true colours started showing. But the moment I pull away and go in a different direction, now I'm being exiled, now I'm a bad person, now people are trying to shut and silence me down. Really? It's embarrassing. Then this other person who I've never seen or heard before says, I used to watch Warlight Raph until he started acting crazy. So what do you mean by acting crazy? You mean the light-hearted stuff? You mean things which weren't linked to the case? And I made a very clear disclaimer at the end of my videos that I was transitioning on to something else, and I made it very clear that you didn't have to watch that part. You weren't forced to watch it, but you still complain anyway. Oh yeah, that says a lot. Michelle Brummett says, I was a paid member. I cancelled yesterday. Thank goodness then. It's ridiculous how he's basically attacking the groups trying to get justice. I do think, though, that Michelle Brummett may have been gifted a membership at one point at least. But that aside, you know, if Michelle does follow through with cancelling membership, that is probably for the best, and that might be the most sensible thing that Michelle has ever done in her lifetime within this community, if I'll be honest with you. That Warlight Raf isn't attacking these groups. Warlight Raf is making observations in a balanced way, calling out the Sofa Sleuth page, calling out the case discussion page, calling out the army page, maybe not all at once, but there is an order to it. And I think people forget it over time. And that's what's embarrassing, okay? So yeah, Laura Dutton, problematic individual. Amy Tuesday Horzemper, problematic individual. Sheree Divine by Nature, problematic individual. Stephanie Bacon, problematic individual. And the list goes on. Vanessa Salazar, extremely problematic individual with time. And now we've got Michelle Ray Brummett and Laura Dutton. So, you know, we're getting a full bingo house right now. Hopefully there are people present right now, witnesses, documenting it all, taking it all into mind and perspective. And then we got that one there. So, 3 months. Interesting. But still, Michelle Brummett, a two-faced individual that will call Melissa LeQuay a crazy bitch, but also have the cheek to report my video covering that video, which she commented on, calling out Melissa. How all over the place is that? Crazy. And then we compare it to this. The Jamie Cooney, the Alicia Lee or Alicia Pressey, the Justin Roy, and anybody else in between on this group chat in the past. Can you see the patterns and the trends? Certain familiar names and faces, which are Team Caden Pressey, Team Justice, Team Army Page. And Alicia says, reporting Warlight Raf's videos to YouTube. These are the steps that I'm working on. A call to arms to get other people to report Warlight Raf's videos to YouTube. Why? Because at the time, in 2024, near Christmas, well, before Christmas time, the videos that I was covering was from the light side perspective. They weren't from the dark side. That before Christmas time, the dark side and the people that others don't like weren't even on my channel at the time. And yet Alicia wanted my videos to be reported to YouTube, and maybe other people tried doing so. This is direct, a call to arms to silence myself, my coverage on the case. And yes, Justin Roy did defend Alicia and say, you know, Alicia is okay with my videos. She didn't report and she wouldn't report Warlight Raf's videos. If that's true, Justin Roy, why should Alicia even say it in the first place? It's right there on screen as a form of hard evidence. There is absolutely no reason to be reporting my videos to YouTube if you don't have a problem with me in the first place. If you've got a problem with me and then you take action, fair enough. But if you haven't got a problem, but you still report the videos, that's very dysfunctional. So I don't know why Justin Roy is defending Alicia there when there's hard evidence that says reporting videos to YouTube. And yes, I was trying to be as lenient as I can, but now it's getting a bit ridiculous and out of hand. So back in 2024, Alicia, Caden Pressey's mom, trying to silence Warlight Raf. And as of right now, Michelle Ray Brummett, viewer on my channel, a call to arms, which will probably reach out to a bigger proportion of people out there because the page is quite big, to convince others to report my video and get it taken down. So it's really positive this is really going to help the case, isn't it? So let's look back at the transcript of the video that I did, which should be reported for misinformation, harming the army page, harassment, bullying, and it's all bad, naughty, misinformation, falseness. So a rough transcript of what was said by myself, my own words. Noah's Army, mercenaries, vigilantes continuing with their aggression by tough complaint. So this is me probably relaying what I was reading from the Reddit page of what other people were saying. Tough complaint. I've seen too much because I'm not aware of the context, but at least from the odd screenshot, what we've seen, Melissa LeQuay in question today has been active at some point on the case discussion page. But is there any proof and evidence hard screenshots which show Melissa LeQuay engaging on the army page, originating from the army page. If anybody has proof, then it will help reinforce what's being mentioned here. I don't know. Yeah. Can people not read? Can people not listen with their ears? Okay? Michelle Ray Brummett, I know you've got glasses on. You might need to get a hearing aid as well. I don't know if Jan Fiorillo can sort you out with that. Probably not, because they've got hearing issues as well when it comes to selective hearing. But Michelle Ray Brummett, get that smile off your face and focus in real good. Can you do that for me? Are you going to be a good individual, or are you going to be a problematic person like how you were in the past? Okay? Michelle Ray Brummett, look, listen, and learn. And that can apply to Justin Roy as well, with respect. Look, listen, and learn. And with regards to anybody else out there that's going to report my video under harassment, bullying, misinformation, spam, or misleading, before you do so, I want you to look, listen, and learn. Because when we go onto the transcript of what I said in my words, in my video, which has been falsely reported, as I said, let's go from here. I'm not aware of all the context, but at least from a couple of screenshots, what we've seen, such as the case discussion one, Melissa LeQuay in question has been active at some point on the case discussion page. That's exactly what's happened. That's what Michael Faske has reinforced. What is the issue? If it's other people by saying, well, Melissa has been very active on the case discussion page, and Michael says, well, no, that's not quite the case. She's only done like one post or so and it was removed. Well, I've done a follow-up video on it right now. That is what happens. You do a video, you cover what's available, you use appropriate wording and language, and you open the space and the room for additional answers, for more people to reach out over time. And that's what happens. The catalyst triggers a reaction. The right people reach out at the right time. I do a follow-up video from Justin Roy, a follow-up video from Michael Faske, a follow-up video. What is the problem? Oh, because of what was said in the original video, that you should be careful where you get your sources from and information. Oh, excuse me, do people seem to forget the time when people on the army page, when the odd individual reached out to me and said, here's some coverage to do with JJ Bumpaz and a TikTok page profile and some additional comments, that I did a video of it, and then it led to people claiming that, oh, it's not true, it's misinformation, it involves a minor, it's not even JJ, and it's all been misunderstood and it's a major problem. Did people report my video then? No. Did I take it down in some sense? Yes, because it just seemed a little bit too problematic and the research was done incorrectly. Oh, but when the army page messes up or slips up when passing on research to me and it goes wrong, that's okay, that can be lenient. But the moment that when the dark side says or does what they do, then I cover it myself in my own way and try and establish that balance, then the light side are like, oh no, you can't be doing that, Raf, we're going to report you. You've done it yourself. You've been reckless yourself with your own research when passing it on to me, trying to drag me down with your incompetence. How embarrassing these humans are. When I say humans, that can apply to anyone, because I'm talking in general, because I've seen it in the past, I've seen it in other cases. It's pathetic, okay? And just as a heads up, this is me being calm, as usual. I know a lot of people like to attach those little labels of, ooh, aggression, angry. Nope. This is normal. This is standard. This is like baseline. Just as a heads up. So, if it all comes down to what people have said on Reddit, right or wrong, or somewhat right but not completely correct, I'm not the problem here. It's not my problem. You've got a problem with me, but I'm not the one stating it as a fact. So Michelle Ray Brummett, Michael Faze, Kaz, Justin Roy, and anyone else in between, look, listen, and learn. I will read it out one more time, and you will listen to get the full understanding that in transcript, I say I'm not aware of all the context. I am being honest. I don't know the full context. You provide additional context. I provide an update video, hence why we're here. It's not that difficult, is it? I say, but from the odd screenshot, we've seen Melissa LeQuay in question has been active at some point on the case discussion page. But is there any proof, evidence, any hard screenshots which show Melissa engaging on the army page? I am making a video questioning, asking a question. Is there any evidence to say that Melissa is on the army page and I'm being done for misinformation? How dumb can you get? Oh my God, what is happening here? I am asking a question. Is there any evidence? Is there any screenshots to say that Melissa LeQuay is on the army page? And then what do people do and react? Oh, we're going to report your video, Warlight Raf, for misinformation. I'm asking a bloody question. I'm not stating a fact. Wow. Are there any screenshots? Is there any proof to prove that they're on the army page or originated from it? It would help reinforce what's been mentioned on Reddit. What's been mentioned on Reddit by other people is not my words, not my mindset. I am reacting to what's been mentioned on Reddit and saying, as a question, do you have proof for that? This is embarrassing. It really is. Well, here we are. We've transitioned on to the comment section on YouTube. And if I go down to the bottom, we're going to acknowledge the bits and bobs as we go along. Sherry says, I, as a recently new admin on Noah's Army page, I can assure you all, as in anyone that reads this comment, we deeply check into everyone who requests to join our page. We are also going back through the ones already on the page from before we took over. Yes, some don't like it, but we have our group for one reason, and that's to try to get the truth of Noah's death. And of course, at the same time, kick Warlight Raf out as well. Great job there. So this is what I mean. When you get in a new wave of admins, different mindsets, mentalities, and outlooks as well, I would like to know, why did the original admins move on? What's happened there for context? Sour says, that must be a huge effort. I would say checking the other admins and the hateful content would be the best thing you could all do. You will never be able to control who sees and acts on all the hateful rhetoric. Best to just remove and disallow that, starting with Justin Roy. Harley says, that is not the issue, Sherry. The issue is that you and Justin allow crazy speculation against innocent people. This woman got her ideas from your group. No other group allows what you do. Even Noah's own father has asked Justin to stop bringing the Newtons into this. Why go against Noah's father? You all allow culture of vigilantism. Do you know that Justin pushed a man down the courthouse stairs and almost killed him, trying to take the law into his own hands? That's not me saying it. That's what Harley says here. He needs to be stopped. That woman is mentally ill, as in Melissa LeQuay, and could have been killed or killed the other night when the man fired warning shots in a direction. What if she went to your house? How would you feel? This is not about you deflecting blame. This is about making serious changes regarding accusing people with no evidence and working your followers into a frenzy where they do stuff like this. Justin added more admin to split the legal responsibility. When the shit hits the fan like it almost did the other night, make no mistake, those ideas come from your group and you'll be held legally responsible if it is found out that your group encouraged someone
to think that law enforcement wasn't going after the Newtons like Justin, and this poor woman was convinced to think, this is not a joke, Sherry, a woman almost lost her life because of your group pushing unfounded rumours. Sadie, it seems like y'all don't want the truth because you kick people off that and real profiles but don't have the same narrative as you. Everybody's looking for the truth. They're just looking in different directions. It's called being open-minded. Harley, they just kick everyone off who has a different opinion than Justin. Justin is the person keeping everyone from exploring theories based in facts. Why remove someone just because they don't think Noah's friends killed him? That group is just turning into the crazy drama people like Beth and Laura Dutton and Justin, all the people who have nothing new to offer but claim to be the gatekeepers of the truth. Everyone in the other groups have moved on. They're working off of information that is over a year old. It's very sad, but they don't want differing opinions. Beth to Harley, false accusations. She is not in the army group, never been to my knowledge, and I've been in that group for a bit. And once again, Warlike Raf does not state it as a fact that she's on the army page. Warlike Raf questions, is there any evidence to support what people on Reddit were stating? How difficult is it for humans to understand my language and wording? Do I need to talk in baby language? Mama, me want avocado. Ooh, goo goo gaga. Wah, I'm throwing my toys out the pram. Wah, I want some milk. Why do I sound like some Mexican baby? Beauty Garumo, can you feed me some milk? I need some, I'm really hungry. Me so thirsty. Me. I'm turning into some kind of Taiwanese person. Thank you very much. Love you long time, long life, long sea. But you see how it's going. It's absolutely embarrassing. Oh, Michelle Brummett here. This woman is not and has never been in the army group. You should probably check your lies at the door. Spreading misinformation and lies is why this channel, Warlike Raf, is being reported. Now bless your tiny heart and smaller brain. You have a nice day. Michelle Ray Brummett, it's very rich of you to call someone having a smaller brain when you yourself can't seem to comprehend your own mindset or abilities when analysing outwards within this world and the different perspectives along the way. Selective hearing as well. When it came to my video, you look at the transcripts, you'll see it for yourself as proof and evidence what I actually said. One day at a time. Why report a channel like Warlike Raf that you are using as a resource? Well said. Lilia says wrong. Lilia, we do not use him as a resource from it. Oh. So it looks like Lilia's comment has disappeared because I can't seem to see it. But that must be YouTube or they themselves. So Lilia Pinson is another individual that may have a problem with Warlike Raf. And Lilia says, we do not use Warlike Raf as a resource, far from it. But you will still consume. Because the thing is, Lelia and Michelle Ray Brummett, every time you comment on my videos, that level of engagement counts as a statistic on my channel and with YouTube when pushing videos out there. And as well, Lelia, every time you comment, you're clicking on my video, which counts as a view. So you are a statistic upon this channel. Okay? What else do we have? Watching Raf's video. Blown away at the lady's crazy violence and muttering Noah's name. It's weird. I agree. Maybe she was tied to the case in some strange ways. Who knows? Jam. I don't understand what half of the people in this case do, no matter the side. I feel like it's coming from everywhere some days, but let's put ourselves in Noah's family's shoes. If anyone were to ask Melissa where did she get her wild ideas about Noah Presgrove case, she'd name names guaranteed. She'd have to spill the beans as to where she got her ideas. Does that sound? Her official address is Comanche. You connected my friend. Hey, okay. Dean McGill. Thank you for the shout out, Warlike Raf. I should not have to elaborate to someone who has an IQ of 116. For you and anyone else, how many sides are there to a box? Well, I guess, does it come in flat pack or is it already built up? Sour, whoa there, simmer down. So, Dean McGill. I can't make the reference of a IQ of 116, but the thing is, Dean, I don't think my IQ is 116 anymore. It probably is a lot lower.
a lot lower when I've got to deal with humans like you yourself, Dean, because you are dragging my IQ down just by your levels of impetuous behaviour, and that applies to other people too. I best pass on with the next comment so my IQ does not drop anymore. Sourwood, thank you, Warlike Raf, to continue to push through all the noise and get to the truth. Appreciate you. Now that is an intelligent comment with a good level of reasoning ability and positivity. Shout out. TJ, I'm familiar with a case where a woman jumped out of her husband's truck whilst he was driving and the rear tyres ran her over. She was pronounced deceased on the way to the clinic, unfortunately. Could look into it and see if any similarities. Okay, fair enough. Only 26. It broke my heart because there was stuff I'd hear about domestic violence leading up to the accident. Apparently, they met when she was 15 and he was 30s. Her name is Trinity Kreiner and his name is George Huffine. Okay. Beth says, has nothing to do with Noah's case as evidence, doesn't warrant that, so keep telling your stories. Wow. So just because TJM gave like an opinion, a suggestion, openly talking and being, a good person to give an example, a source and a reference to compare and contrast, what does Beth do? It is irrelevant, has nothing to do with Noah's case. Are we turning into robots? What the fuck is going on here? My God, it's like a glue factory. I think people have had the noses in the glue too long. Pull it out, get a grip, understand reasoning ability that there is more than one side. How embarrassing. TJ, what are you talking about? If you got something stupid to say, don't say anything at all. People from this case previously asked me for the name of the case to look into, and all TJ is doing is simply giving an answer. Oh, but now it's a problem. Oh my God. This is embarrassing. These humans are embarrassing me. Oh my God. How many expert medical examiners have said Noah fell out of a moving vehicle? I'm sure you and your GD know better than trained professionals. So shout out to TJ. Apologies that you had to, go through such incompetence at times. Cleo, you're welcome. Shout out to Cleo. Mark, let me first say, what Melissa did was obviously horrific. Yes. What would compel her to act like that? I wonder. It does link to possibly today's video with her maybe feeling threatened or uncomfortable by Caleb Newton, as in, what, she's taking out on the same set of individuals? No. So maybe there's not a link there. But in terms of her behaviour and her past, supposedly, and her trauma, is that catching up what led to her actions? I wonder. Adding my comedy section, lol, in my Valley Girl voice. Oh my God, Mark. Oh my God, Beauty Garumo, you never told me about Mark. Yeah. So, what do you say? Dear Warlike Raph, yeah, I was a fan, not anymore. Oh, your comments referring to us as dogs. I'm a human. I'm highly offended. So much drama over here. Oh my God. Don't worry, Mark. It's fine. It's fine. We're just here to play some games, a little bit of petty behavior. Kitty cat claws come out from time to time, but don't worry. It's all under control. My God. Anyway, let's get a little bit more serious now. Okay. Harley says she has made a post where she has gone after Caleb and Jack. These are ideas that Justin perpetrates in his groups. These are the same ideas that Noah's father has asked Justin to stop perpetrating. She did not get these ideas on her own, and there will surely be other incidents like this. A man fired a gun. This could have been a death of a mentally ill person. All for following baseless rumours. You have a whole group dedicated to perpetrating dramatic lies based on one person's crazy speculation. Combine that with admin Justin's vigilante history of almost killing someone by throwing them down the courthouse stairs. It goes on. George, it's a good thing this case landed on DA Jason Hicks' desk. Noah Presgrove's name mentioned in the affidavit provided with the various charges, so now maybe Ellie will see what's going on with the various accusations coming out of the various Facebook groups and what's been happening as a result, and who is responsible for those accusations and result actions. You're absolutely right here, George. This woman makes posts all the time, repeating verbatim and the same rhetoric Justin and his group have been perpetrating for over a year with no single shred of evidence to absolutely happen again, and the next time someone could get hurt. Okay, the long-term impacts. Justin, Roy, and the Coven of Six. Their names will be mentioned by Melissa LeQuay in her subsequent court appearances. That's a given. Really?
And then Beth Rose says to Harley, you are doing nothing but spreading lies and nothing to back up what you claim. ML has never been in the army group. Melissa LeQuay. ML in this context means Melissa LeQuay, not Mikey Lair, just in case anyone did get mixed up there. I've never even seen her in any of the groups. I've never seen her in any of the groups, but guess what, Beth Rose? Today there's hard evidence to show that she was on the case discussion page and on the justice page. So let's not jump ahead, shall we? And it goes on and on and on. She shouldn't be blasted on social media. Shouldn't be blasted on social media, but her actions and everything have been mentioned publicly in newspapers and articles. It's already out there. And today's video, looking at more public posts by them and their supposed trauma, putting it all into play and perspective, trying to understand it all, there's a process to it. If it is a mental health thing, should someone like Melissa be involved in a true crime case where it's full of toxicity, shark-infested waters, and if other people could whisper into their ears and weaponize them for their own gain? Possibly. It's worth acknowledging. And of course, Laura Dutton, no one from the army page knows Melissa LeQuay. Sounds like you had been drinking the vile side, also known as Kool-Aid. Oh, we're using some word. Mark Drama. Are you calling me drama? Is that so? Beth Rose to the other Dutton. She deleted her comment, whatever that was. Oh well, at least it makes a change. I'm not being accused of deleting people's comments. Some progress. Sherry, but a different Sherry. Warlike Ref, people from the army page have started that they're going to report you. And that's a fact. Sherry, shout out to Sherry for the heads up. I've seen it. I've covered it in today's video. It's absolutely ridiculous. If it happens, in terms of the video being taken down, you will know where it's coming from. Good work. Appreciate it. Skippy, reporting Raf for what? Do you know what's their beef with him? And then Andrea, their beef is that Raf is reporting all sides. They're deeply offended by any theory other than foul play murder. The second anyone questions anything, they are banned, booted, blocked, truly unwilling to see the outside of their narratives. And that's how it seems to be more so now. Remember, they loved Warlike Raf when he was mainly doing videos with the light side. Exactly, Andrea. Back in the past, I was covering the light side only. I tried being as balanced as I could, but obviously I wasn't balanced enough because I did not take into account the dark side and their perspective. But it just wasn't the time back then. But what I was doing back then, from the light side, as limited as it may have been, and sometimes reckless by other people's actions and bold words, which I relayed and analysed in my videos, that was all okay, and when looking at Caden Pressey. But the moment I question anything, now I'm a bad person by them. It's embarrassing. Justin says there's no beef with him. But there is, Justin. I've seen it myself. But Warlike Raf did imply this lady came from the army page. Justin Roy, I want you to rewind back this video, what you're listening to right now, and make sure to listen in. I did not imply, I did not state that she is from the army page based off the transcript of, the previous video, which I've shown in this video, but I said, is there any evidence to actually support what people are saying are true? Because I just don't believe it at this moment in time. It's very easy to interpret, but people aren't willing to listen. And unfortunately, Justin, that's how it comes across here. We have no idea who she was. Several times, though, Warlike Raf has blasted the Noah Army page for no reason. Justin Roy, that is beyond an extremely ignorant point to make there. I have not blasted the army page. I have made valid observations, and I have done for a reason, and that's more so to defend myself. Just like the case discussion page when Michael Facecast decided to throw his toys out the pram amongst another individual when making false claims or false interpretations about myself in coverage. Completely ignoring the fact what I did for people in the past on the light side, listening to them, not dismissing them, even when there was no evidence or hard evidence, but still doing a video to spread awareness. Oh, that's all forgotten now? It's very interesting, this. We have gotten rid of several fake accounts,
spreading false information, attacking other members. Majority of those fake accounts are linked to the party house family friends. It's been absolutely ridiculous. That's unfortunate. Anyone looking deep for the truth about Noah gets attacked and harassed and slandered by these people. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Noah deserves truth and justice. There was not a hit and run. They pushed for over a year, and him just falling out of a truck is silly, and no way that would cause all the injuries. It might be silly, but why can't you just have a theory, an idea? You're going to get attacked for thinking that now? Just like people that think it's a murder and hit and run. People that think it's a murder and foul play. If it's just a theory or an idea, you shouldn't be attacked for it. It's your opinion. Justin, well, that's not true. My very first theory was he died in the ATV accident and they panicked and staged a hit and run based scenario and quickly changed to started talking. It was not a hit and run scenario. I mean, Justin, you transitioned onto like a beating murder type when hearing about the golf club's correct, or roughly about that. One thing that social hosting party caused death, you don't think? Oh God, it gets on and on. So no offense, but I'm probably going to just skip through the comments. I will, show them on screen, and if you want to pause the video, you can do so. It's just because of the timing of everything, because I still need to give my conclusion, okay? Most members on both pages, yourself included, they go on and repeat themselves over and over. Screenshots don't lie. Ellie are not doing their jobs. How do you know what they're doing? In the background, it's been investigated. Go back out. These groups are making the situation dangerous. Army page being pushed hard, being a murder. I was pretty quiet in there. One day I simply corrected what Brooke Bounce Carter had said about the cameras at the mini-mart. I was instantly removed. Then you accused me of talking a lot on the sofa page, which you know damn well that was another lie you tried to push. I rarely made any comments there, but I will say that besides the family page, the sofa page has been a good one, correcting the lies. The scary part is known what type of people are administrators of these groups with quite a serious history of their own. You bring up the ATV accident. I remember when I first joined the Army page, I mentioned that I wondered if Noah was more injured in the side-by-side than they realised, might have had internal bleeding. You didn't like that comment at all, and I didn't feel it was okay to be calling the kids murderers without proof. Thank God Melissa LeQuay didn't kill someone or get killed. Hope she gets the help she needs. Very easy for criminally unstable people to put themselves into online leadership positions and hijack and cause chaos in wake of tragedies, mental health issues, substance abuse, personal feelings, and I'd quit see. Okay. Or entire armies to do evil. This is where we go. Throughout history, emotional manipulation and lies to convince small groups of followers, Manson, or entire armies, Hitler, to do evil. I mean, that's exactly the example that I used in the past, that when it came to the Reichstag fire, that Hitler blamed it on the Jews responsible for burning down the Reichstag building, but in fact it was Hitler or some of his groups that did it, but pinned the blame onto a different set of people to further spark outrage and distaste within the community of the general public, forcing them to side more with Hitler to go against the Jews and beyond, and then start an army and beyond, a form of a bit of indoctrination, brainwashing, and adding a bit of manipulation along the way. So that Hitler reference is a very accurate point to be made. I've used it constantly in the past with time. There's no beef. Seriously, come on now. You and I both commented on the post that was asking members to report Warlight Ref's channel. You and I both commented on the post. Oh wait, Justin was commenting on the post about Raf's video being reported. I didn't see that. Well, that's unfortunate if it's true. Warlight Ref had no reason to mention the army page at all. Oh my God, really? Really? Right, we'll have to do a follow-up video. Blue Wolf, I still think Noah was beat up, dragged to the road and dumped there. Fair enough, that's your opinion. It's okay. No problems there. See? That's how simple it really is. Lelia Pinson says who your cop brother. Well, you crack me up. We're seeing really childish behaviour by certain people on the army page there. Shout out to Glenn, big shout out. That one girl, Laura Dutton and Beth Carr, are still floating on the same wavelength I see. Thank you, Ref, for looking at all angles and not having blind vision. You're welcome. That one girl with an intelligent comment already. I hope the army page and discussion group page gets shut down. Well, hopefully those pages don't get shut down, only because there were some important posts in the past and comments, and if it all gets shut down, you'll lose it all, including the research and the possible evidence to show that people are in a dark way at times. So shutting it down probably isn't the best thing. But in terms of what was mentioned above, I do agree with. I also hope that all admins are held accountable for what they push. Both pages are toxic, very reckless. Raf, you asked who Christine Cameron is. She's the main admin of the discussion page. She may have been the one who created that page, but I'm not 100% sure. Appreciate your consistent coverage. You're welcome. Glad you're here. Laura Dutton, wow, coming from you, huge compliment. One victim, justice for Noah. What is it with this robotic language? There is only one victim. So, everyone that's team Caden Pressey saying there's only one victim. Are you not going to call Caden Pressey a victim to harassment and attacks? Well, you kind of contradicted yourself there then. This is what I mean. Humans with time constantly contradicting themselves. Beth, I agree. Y'all check on your friends. Some may not be okay. I definitely do not excuse Melissa's behaviour at all. Okay? I'm sure BBC is still here and around. Well, she's not. I've not seen her at all. Nowhere whatsoever. I don't know what's going on there. Please try and understand where I'm coming from. After going through all of these back and forth attacks, all the discrepancies, just was looking to move forward to something new in Noah's case, not all the dismissing. See, what you need to understand, Beth Rose, there was a time where people were falsely calling you Vanessa Salazar. I didn't have to, but I made the decision to defend you, Beth Rose, by saying you are not Vanessa Salazar based off your language, wording and communication. But look how things have gone since. It seems like when I try and defend people, when I do good for people, when I listen to people, when I don't dismiss people, that down the line when I do something else elsewhere and cover it from different perspectives, that people forget of what I've done to them in the past in a positive way and they only think of the negatives. This is very disappointing. I wasn't stating everything is fake. At least have name attached is what I was stating. But it's the language and wording, Beth Rose. It can be very holistic, meaning it can apply to anything, can be interpreted to applying to anything. That's why I try and be as specific as I can, or make the attempt to. Beth, Melissa, not done anything positive in Noah's case, Raf, and an embarrassment for her advocacy. So no, don't agree with what she did. Many in the community are wild is a perfect example. Shall we cover more recklessness in the case and get some more background checks as I hear? Well, with time, we'll see what happens. I'll send you that info as it becomes available. May well, since we have nothing new on Noah's case, unfortunately it's frustrating. Thank you for your coverage. Well, you're welcome, Beth. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, and this is just an honest observation. I'm not too sure where things are at right now because, like with Michelle Ray Brummett, how they were a little bit positive, then went toxic elsewhere. Hopefully, Beth Rose, that doesn't apply with you. I mean, there might have been some shaky grounds at times for a misunderstanding here and there, but hopefully things remain somewhat stable. There is a process to this all with how I cover the stuff, even if it comes across as dark. Felicia, why hasn't the FBI been called into the investigation? They're kind of on the sideline, unfortunately. Popsky, interesting. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Right, are we nearly getting there? Drama is not my thing. Here for one reason, justice for now. Fair enough. Appreciate that. Lalia Pinson, I'm going to say one thing on here and nothing else. Well, I guess two things. Well, you kind of contradicted yourself already. As a new admin of 1 month on the Army page, we are daily getting rid of people who literally break our new rules or start a shitload of drama. And I have done none of that whatsoever because I don't participate on the Army page. I observe only. So there's that. 2, if you have been removed from the group, it has absolutely nothing to do with your opinions or views. It does have everything to do with you breaking the rules. So I think what Lilia Pinson is getting at here is just in general, but to be honest, I don't know why people are spreading Facebook type messages and bios and descriptions and rules upon my channel. This is my channel. This is not Facebook. This is not your page. This is not your Facebook group. This is Warlight Raf's channel. As simple as. Sherry, quite laughable. I had the screenshots of exactly what I stated about the mini-mark cameras, that's it, and I was instantly booted. Take that BS somewhere else. So many people are sick of the crap being done. I'm sure Ellie can handle their jobs. And Justin Roy said 95% in their group think murder when only 5% ever comment. Well, no. What Justin Roy said was he said 95% of the human race, roughly worded, believe it's murder. But what Justin Roy was actually referring to was 95% of a poll in a group, which does not represent the whole human race out there. So Justin Roy was reckless with his language and wording there, just making that clear. Sherry says, I give it to Justin Roy. He was smart by adding more administrators because he can't take all the responsibilities. Lilia, ma'am, you were booted for sharing screenshots after being warned not to. Enough with your wow is me BS. Lilia Pinson, I think I might have come across Lilia before in the past, but maybe they're changing now in behaviour. One day at a time. Thank you for your unbiased analysis of information given to you. You hit a nerve in this video exactly. Point out the hypocrisy from case followers exactly. Facebook group members, those actually close to the case, just to name a few. I must admit, I myself am guilty of being a hypocrite at times. That's okay. Says, as I hang my head in shame. That is a God-like comment by One Day at a Time in terms of understanding, reasoning, reflecting on themselves. Not that they have to, but they made the choice to do so. So that's all fine there. That appears to be it there. I need to give my closing thoughts right now because it's absolutely pathetic the way things are at. So to start off with, Justin Roy, in regard to anything that's been said in the background, in regard to comments, opinions, thoughts, responses directly to me, that remains private. Respect to that, okay? But in terms of your public comments, Justin Roy, I will respond back to right here, right now, because I'm extremely disappointed beyond immeasurable at this moment in time. To say that what I've done and how I've responded attacking the army page, I have not attacked the army page. There's a difference between attacking and making valid observations, non-participant, to highlight problems and dysfunctions within for the better or for the worse, depending on how you look at it, but more so for the better, to try and better people in the future so you know how to deal with things, who to go around with, and how to deal with how others react. You got to also understand, Justin Roy, I've done some dedicated videos to defending you, spreading awareness, giving updates, giving that additional context which was lacking before. Justin, you need to remember that. And furthermore, Justin Roy, what you also need to acknowledge is I've done some dedicated videos and analysis just in general, but it could be aimed at you in terms of trying to help oneself, in terms of trusting people to not get backstabbed, and where people pose as a certain way, you trust them, you give them stuff, you pass on things, then they go elsewhere, piss off, and then release it, and then you're screwed. Trust issues, causes damage, causes frustration, and much more. I've done videos highlighting the ins and outs, what to do, how to take action, and the best steps forwards. If that's going to be completely neglected and forgotten and not acknowledged, and all that's acknowledged right now is that I, Wallach Ralph, is supposedly attacking the army page, despite everything that I've done for humans over time, well then that's absolutely very disappointing and unfortunate. Is it not, Justin? And furthermore, Justin Roy, when I make observations about the army page, it's down to, at times, the recklessness of some, the bold language and communication by others stating one as a murderer or a group as murderers. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. You may have not seen it, or you may have turned a blind eye at times, but I saw it myself by minorities of humans. We've had the Dean of Roses, which may have been more so on the case discussion page. What you've also got to acknowledge, Justin Roy, even when I do my observations on the army page, past, present, future, might come across as negative because I'm looking at the dark reality of it. And sometimes the dark reality will be negative. It is where it is. But furthermore, Justin Roy, what you need to acknowledge is that whilst I've done observations on the army page, it's not just the army page which you call attacks. I've done it on the case discussion page as well in recent time, like with the Dina Rose situation, the Vanessa Salazar situation, the Laura Duttard situation, the group of all these people together situation, and the JJ Bumpers being dragged in, falsely accused of this and that, the car park situation, JJ being accused of being in Oklahoma, but he was elsewhere in a different city at the time when it supposedly what happened. And what happened at the end of it turned out to be a load of misinformation, false information. Michael Faiscaz said, right, I'll deal with it. What did Michael Faiscaz do? Very lenient. Was Dina Rose punished? No. But was someone else punished for just saying one word or one criticism? Yes. So it's not quite balanced there. Poor language and communication by people in the case discussion page, based on the army page, the Reddit page, and stuff what I've experienced and witnessed myself, so I can actually talk about it from experience, Justin Roy. These observations are to highlight the problems and the dysfunctions within, so it's better for you, it's better for the majority with time, but unfortunately the majority are becoming like the minority, and that's what's very worrying. I mentioned it, the minority, small amounts of people, a couple of people here and there. I was being realistic. I wasn't, saying everyone, but the moment I mention a criticism of the army page, everybody goes into lockdown mode, throws the toys out the pram, has a tantrum, and now wants videos to be reported and removed. That is embarrassing, isn't it? Okay? So basically, if I was like others to say certain things on some pages, you'd be getting booted, kicked, blocked and whatnot. but because Warlight Ref is doing his own thing, keeping to himself on a different platform, in my own space, on my own channel, which I've created, my own brand, doing my own videos with clear language wording, doing the best I can in a balanced way, multiple different perspectives and viewpoints, that the moment I mention observations to do with a external page, now I'm the bad one, that it's unnecessary. Oh, at the times that I've been attacked, people spoken behind my back, false claims being made, poor observations made about myself, I'm not allowed to highlight that. I'm not allowed to defend myself on my own channel. Oh, how embarrassing. I'm just supposed to stand there, let it happen. The next time I'm walking the streets and someone comes up with me with a knife, I'm not allowed to defend myself. I'm not allowed to run away. I'm just supposed to stand there and say, please, can you dig that blade deep into my gut, twist it around so you can pull the intestines out, play with them, then get the intestines of mine, shove them down my throat, deep throat, and make me gag and say thank you and ask for more and more, then bend me over backwards and strangle me with my own intestines while shoving that knife into my arteries so I'm bleeding out, and I'm supposed to be grateful for that, and I'm not allowed to defend myself. That is the same piss poor, pathetic mentality why I've seen people online with that type of mindset. We've seen the rapist type mindset of minimization, external manipulative minimization, and now this type of mindset of you as an individual who has your own opinion and your thoughts with appropriate language and wording, you're still not allowed to do that. And even if you do it elsewhere, you're not breaking any Facebook rules because you're doing it on a different platform, in a different way, in an appropriate style, but you're still going to get silenced, you're still going to get told off, you're going to be classified as the villain. But after all those months of looking at the light side, covering it from that angle, looking at the dark side and criticizing them, even though they didn't attack me back, that's all fine and good. But then when I do it from a different angle now it is a problem. How embarrassing. See, I've mentioned over time, over and over again, the army page, there was positives to be made, and maybe the case discussion and the Reddit one, but it's typical in my life. At the moment I mention positives and highlight positive things, it turns to negative with time. I highlight positives when humans at times, then they turn toxic, dark. It's very ironic, it's like a curse, but it just seems to happen. So, whilst it's true and valid what I say at the time based off my encounters and experience, the army page was very good and helpful, but then in more so recent time, it's not good. It's not looking good. And as much as the dark side may have criticized the army page, basically what's happened now is people from the army page, whether they're showing their true colors or just changing in general, are fulfilling that self-fulfilling prophecy of whatever the dark side accuses or claims of the positive light side, the army page, they are becoming themselves and attaching those labels to themselves by their own actions, wording, and incompetence. That is a problem. There are still some good people on the army page and the case discussion page, but it seems to be getting harder to find with time when I keep seeing people changing and showing their true self or activating a newer side within them, which is very disappointing. Okay? I'm making observations, I'm making valid points, comparisons, contrast, highlighting problems in the case, in the community which run in parallel with the case, and explain possibilities as to why there is dysfunction, why and how it can impact a case, slow things down, causes confusion, causes people to misunderstand stuff, and much more. Making these observations as a form of awareness, just like the awareness as in keeping the case alive, keeping it alive as in what the problems are at hand and how they can be adjusted and solved, but what should be done, what Justin Roy says and others, you shouldn't be doing it, it's unnecessary. Oh, so I'm not supposed to talk about the problems, I'm not supposed to talk about the issues, I'm supposed to keep my mouth shut like a good little boy and just move on and turn a blind eye and be completely delusional in a delusional positive way and only look at it one way. I mean, if I look at it one way, as long as I praise Caden Pressey, as long as I criticize the dark side only and I push the idea of a murder and a form of foul play, then I'm considered unbiased. I could keep on clapping, but my hands will drop off. That really shows how things and where things are really at, based off that other person's comment about, in the past, Warlight Wrath was more unbiased. In the past, when I was only covering it from one side. That is one of the most incompetent, stupid lines I have ever heard of before. That I am the most unbiased individual at a time of when I was only looking at it from one side before being introduced to the other side. How does that even make sense? It's like saying, Warlike Ref, when you say 2 plus 2 equals 4, you were actually more intelligent in the past when you said 2 plus 2 equals 69. This is what we're dealing with. This is the incompetence now. Maybe it was always there, but it's shining a lot more brighter now. And, you know, people have their own issues and points being made, but I just want to reiterate it one more time, make it as clear as possible. The video that I did in recent time in regard to Melissa LeQuay, I looked at comments on Reddit and people on Reddit were stating that she's on the army page. I read that out, then I responded, but do we have any evidence to support that? I'm asking a question because I didn't believe it. I didn't quite believe that Melissa LeQuay was on the army page, so I was asking for proof. I was asking for evidence, so then it could be backed up and reinforce what the people on Reddit were saying. If you go back to my video, you rewind back to this earlier video today, you look at the transcript, almost word for word what I said, I was asking for evidence. I was questioning. I was asking a question. Does it actually exist? Is it true what these people say? So we've actually hit a complete rock bottom new low. You thought it was bad enough that if you question Caden Pressey because of a time discrepancy, you will be blocked, you will be kicked, and you will be seen as a bad person. Now what happens is, if you simply ask a question because you don't believe in what the dark side says, then the light side will punish me. Right, everybody, stand up. I don't care, you know, just stand up. Everybody in the chat watching, stand up right now. I don't care if you're in a car, open that sunroof, stick your head out, stand up. Anyone that's got dogs, cats, turtles, coyotes, get them all to stand up right now. Okay, in the name of the tight-fitting tops, I know it's unfortunate, but in the name of we the people acknowledge the sheer incompetence of others out there. We the avocados, we the advocate for avocados, in which avocados have more intelligence than certain humans do out there. We the froglets, we the waffles, we the frog houses, we the cornholes. I don't even know what cornhole means, to be honest. I've heard of some corn stars, but that was some agreement made in the Dylan Brown's case, some pettiness drama. But we heard Joyce Burgow, the burger expert, is doing cornhole, whatever that means. But we the cornholes, we the frogs, we the waffles, we the makeup brushes, we the hairstylist, we the long hair individuals, we the tight-fitting shirts, we the people of the true crime copyright claims. What is going on? What is this incompetence? This is embarrassing, okay? We the semi-skinned milk, we the rashes, we this, we that, we the people. What is going on, really? I don't know where I'm at right now because of just the... I will really need to do an IQ test at some point because this is really low-level type degeneracy type behaviour with what I'm witnessing in recent time. I ask a question from the dark side. What that basically means, and I'm going to explain it right now, I'm going to demonstrate introspection, okay? So everybody can clearly hear me. And I'll be talking like this so people understand what I am saying. Dark side say Melissa LeQuay is on army page. Moderators, admins, no. Bad people, naughty, naughty, naughty. I read that out in their words in my video. I respond back with, do you have any evidence to support that? I ask a question because I don't fully believe it at the time. Lightside, Army Page, Michelle Ray Brummett, Justin Roy, other people, Michael Facecast interprets what I said, what I questioned to the dark side because I didn't believe what the dark side says. What does the Army Page do to me? They tell me off for misinformation, for doing it wrong, for saying it wrong, and attacking Army Page. How can I be attacking Army Page when I'm questioning the dark side, just like how you might at times? Why am I getting punished? What is going on? I think I need oiling or something because I'm turning into a bit of a robot. Oh God, it's having that knock-on effect. That is irrelevant. That does not apply. You can't use examples. You can't compare, contrast. In this case, it's only one-sided, one way. It is murder. That is all. Can't think any other way. Caden Pressey is correct. Timeline is correct. Everybody else is wrong. Why am I turning into a Dalek? Jesus Christ. Yeah? This is how crazy and wacky things are getting. It's embarrassing. I ask a question. Do we have evidence to support what you say about being on the Army Page? The Army Page says, Warlike Raf, you're spreading misinformation. I am causing misinformation just by asking a question to counter the misinformation or to reinforce it as a fact. Now that's a problem. Oh no. Really? What will happen next is if I breathe, I will be arrested. Oh, don't be so silly. I'm being realistic. I'm being honest because this is the sheer incompetence with what we're dealing with now. It truly is embarrassing. If the light side and the positive side and the Army Page claiming to be the true justice and the true good, they're really undoing it now with their own behaviour and actions and reactions. They're not doing themselves any favours. You know, like how I said about Jack Newton or maybe Colton, how they could come across as threatening or how they could contradict themselves at times. Or, you know, how the word stuff, they're digging themselves into a hole, which then leads to further questions upon others and suspicion growing upon themselves. Well, it's the same here in terms of, you know, the attitudes and behaviour within the Army Page. They're still good people, but it's just getting worse and worse each time, okay? Did I predict something like this would happen? Absolutely. I make predictions left, right and centre, negative, negative, negative. They always happen, simple as. Patterns, trends, behaviours, humans predictable. It was going to happen. It was going to go wrong. It was going to implode at one point. It is where it is, natural selection. But still stamina, still videos, still coverage, still keeping it alive. But in terms of the attitude of falsely reporting my video, in which my video was not about misinformation, was not about bullying or harassment. It was about highlighting a vulnerable individual, but the dangers that can pose of them towards the general public and how an unstable person like that within a case community, probably not quite ideal. And I've seen the dangers as well in the past because I've been on the receiving end of it. I've shared my own encounters and experiences. So because I've been on the receiving end of it, because I share my own experience about it and how it can apply in future situations and how it can apply in this case, putting it all in perspective, that's considered harassment, bullying. It's embarrassing. It's almost as stupid as calling the victim of a rape and saying that the person that got raped is the rapist. That the person that was murdered, they're the murderer. What? Doesn't make any sense. But that's what's happening when you're dealing with impetuous humans, when you're dealing with degenerate-like behaviour. Very disappointing. But just as another direct response to Michelle Ray Brummett, and in response to every single mortal soul and atom on the Army Page, specifically on that post, a call to arms in trying to delete my video, get it removed, and in Michelle's words, report my channel as well. You do understand that if action is taken to that extent on a mass level, that yes, things could be removed and maybe the channel could be removed. You do what you need to do and you do it good. But just remember on your conscience, in your mind, and every time you go to sleep to close your eyes, you will be the reason, you will be the problem for cases and more being removed from YouTube. Valuable information and material, because it has a knock-on effect. If a video is removed, and more so if a channel is removed, once that channel is removed, all 3,000 videos are deleted as well. All the cases in the past, from the Kenny Veach missing person case to the Christine Passe Parker missing person case, the Dylan Rounds true crime case, the Brian Kohberger case, and anything else in between, and specifically in recent time, the Noah Presgrove case, all that will be removed and will turn to dust. All that research, all that awareness, and all that time keeping cases alive, and other cases which remain a cold mystery, but people can learn along the way, use it as stepping stones to learn and make progress themselves, and it could be useful, it could be beneficial in the future. Some areas and aspects can learn to solving possible cases as well, and doing a checkpoint, ticking it off the list as to what's been searched, what hasn't, the best routes, the best hiking routes for people's safety when going out on hikes out there, so they don't become another missing person like Kenny Veach. You take all that away, you rip it all away, there is nothing left. There's no more research. The last drops and ounces of key, vital, sensitive material, which is nowhere else to be seen upon this planet, only on my channel, is removed, and you're responsible for that. You see the domino effect it can have, and granted, acknowledgement, you may have the power at this moment, and other people do, but you also be the destructor of it all, the apocalypse which brings upon and leads to many things being lost over time. You screw over all those people in their graves who have passed away with time, who have gone missing, who have been killed and murdered, and all that coverage and research along the way taken away, desecrating themselves, desecrating their existence upon this earth and this life. You're responsible for that by taking away all the research done and conducted along the way. You're taking away people's opportunities and chances of learning about these cases and beyond, silencing it all. If you're truly an advocate for Noah Presgrove, if you truly claim to care about the case at hand and the victim themselves, but your actions are trying to silence and cover up people's coverage on the case, almost admits to like what you've been accusing the dark side of over time, and the false claims of one being paid off, even though there isn't proof of that in terms of being paid off to change opinions or in different directions, when clearly in recent time I've still acknowledged what Michael Facecast has said, I've still acknowledged what Justin Roy has said, despite how they've treated me and comments that they've made about me behind my backs at times, more so Michael Facecast, and I've still acknowledged it. I've still given the time of day to even listen to what they've got to say and even look at screenshots too. I've not dismissed it, I've still looked for the case, the cause of the case, when people mistreat me, when people make false claims about me, when people attack me, and I still listen to them because it's for the case, and there's more beyond that, and there's more material on top of it all. Got to work with the devil and just put up with the shit despite how one is treated, because it can work long term. I still do that day in, day out. After all of that, and it's just not acknowledged. How embarrassing, how pathetic. So Michelle Ray Brummett and every other mortal that decides it's a good idea to falsely report my video, even though there is no hard evidence or proof to say that I've broken guidelines, because the transcript shows that I used appropriate language and wording. You want to be petty, you want to be impetuous, you want to be degenerative like, you do what you need to do, but it will have a knock-on effect possible. And it will undo everything that you've said and stood for within this case. Not an advocate for Noah Presgrove. Because what you need to acknowledge and understand is, in the Noah Presgrove case, Noah himself, whenever he got drunk, when there was conflict, whether there was negativity, he would remove himself from the situation as a selfless act to reflect, to cool down, not to bring anybody else's mood down. I think more people need to be more like Noah Presgrove in those situations, because people with time on the army page, to some extent and degree, they're far from Noah Presgrove as a good person in terms of being involved in conflict in a situation, not quite thinking clearly. Noah Presgrove, at least, when he could, and when he made it back, he would take himself out of the mix. He would go off to cool down, to reflect, to breathe, whatever, so that when he returns back, he would be refreshed, cool, calm, collective, and maybe so other people would be as well, and it would be okay. And granted, that one time didn't work, whatever the cause of that was, but all the times before that, as like Caden Pressey said, Noah Presgrove walks away, cools off, cools down, returns back, and it's okay, takes himself out of the equation. I think other people need to follow in the steps of Noah Presgrove. If they're truly advocates for Noah Presgrove, they would look, rethink, relearn, re-listen, come back with a fresh mind and concept, and look back at my videos and stop making such impetuous actions and statements in regard to me and actually listen to my videos once in a while, besides whining about the live chat, besides whining about the length of the video, use a transcript, use the speed limiter thing where you can speed the videos up, and listen. Don't be doing selective hearing. Acknowledge the positives, the negatives, and in between, and regardless of what order it happens in. You want to be an advocate for Noah Presgrove, you want to really focus in, you want to be really consistent, then you will do what needs to be done. But you're undoing it all with your mindsets and degeneracy with time. It truly is embarrassing and pathetic. But that's what happens at times with overly emotional connected people tied with a case with a conflict of interest and much more petty reasons with time. It might not show immediately, but it does show over time. I've seen it with myself in the past, and it's happening once again. I call myself exorcist like wrath because it shows in the actions of people and how they react themselves. Behind closed doors, I can be around good people or bad people in good disguise, and it will eventually show itself. Luckily, this time around, it's publicly. We've seen the comments, people's reactions and responses, so it can be witnessed by other people with time. But it's really embarrassing how one thing is allowed, but when another is done in a similar way, that's not. It's extremely one-sided. And for the same people to call Warlight Ref not balanced or, biased, same people that push a one-sided type mentality. Biggest load of hypocrites out there, as in who? Well, those who you could think of, as in who demonstrates that. I could think of some examples in my head. But as I said, I detest hypocrites. I detest two-faced humans. And maybe over time, there'll be other factors as well. But I can't think or remember everything on the spot. But what I do know is that my coverage, my wording, my language is on point for most part of it. That at the time in the past, in the army page, when an individual reached out to me with some research and screenshots with JJ Bumpaz, and in the end it turned out not to be all to do with JJ Bumpaz, and it was incorrect, statements were incorrect, it made me look bad, people were pissed off with me, but were the videos reported by the dark side? Nope. Just that there was a level of disappointment, fair enough. But my credibility, a little bit damaged at the time because of the incompetence of other people. But the same individuals to some extent could be the same ones that are saying to me, well, like, Ralph, you need to do better in regards to where you get your sources of information from. Why would you be saying that when you yourself have been incompetent yourself? No position to be talking. I'm coming across a lot of people day by day who are in no position to be talking whatsoever based off their mentalities, their past, present, or future actions. It's embarrassing, okay? This is me, very disappointed in the human race at this moment in time. Whether I am your tutor, whether I am some doctor of some sort, there are certain methods and stuff that I can do, but I cannot fix people's incompetence, unfortunately. Okay? So, with that being said, we'll see what happens next, but considering that there is a call to arms to silence Warlight Ref, the same group that advocates for Noah Presgrove justice, keeping the case alive and spreading awareness are the same people that also want to spread awareness in shutting down someone that's trying to cover the case and keep it alive. How does that make any sense? We are the army page. We want to spread awareness. We want justice for Noah, but at the same time, we'll shut down another person that's single-handedly keeping it alive on a different platform. We don't need that person. We'll get rid of him. Oh, I wonder if there would be a same level of action if the channel was over 5 million subscribers. Would there be a level of leniency there? Could it be a popularity contest? Oh, can we have your autograph? Can we have this? Can we have that? I'm sure the behaviours and outlooks and attitudes would be a little bit different there, wouldn't it? Because it is a popularity contest at the end of the day. It is a bidding war at the end of the day. Other people like to throw the little points about being paid off and this and that. Oh, but if you're a big creator, there's more room for errors, more room for leniency, because, we can look past that. You're a bigger channel. You can value this case more. You're more value to us more. We can use it in different ways more. Oh, when you can't use them anymore, when they don't want to be used by you anymore, they go in different directions and pull elsewhere. But then what? Pettiness behaviour thrown out of the pram? I think we'll just end it on a little positive, light-hearted note, because it's been rather intense today. Basically, the reactions are, wow, what's going on here? I don't like it. Wow. Go to the toilet pram. Where's the milk? Where's the milk? I don't know where's the milk at. Does anyone have milk? Okay, since I've been paid off with deep pockets, does anyone have deep bottles? That's a new trend. If you've got deep bottles full of milk, then just hand it over. Okay? That aside, hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting. I'm very disappointed in the human race at this moment in time. My IQ has lowered itself, so I'll have to get that back up. I will need to do some outside of the box videos or something else or other topics in between to cleanse myself, and we'll go from there. And guess what? Despite what's happened today and despite what I've said, there is still freedom of speech in regard to these said individuals and beyond who can still comment on my channel. And if they need to yap on, whinge, whine, complain, do what they need to do. You see? You see how badly I get treated and yet I still give those people freedom of speech? Really says a lot, doesn't it? So, I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Good night for now.